Kiana's aunt, Rhonda Battle, for the return of property left behind after Kiana was kicked out of her home.
All rise. Now it's case number 543 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Battle.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Brown, this is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your sister.
Yes.
And this is your aunt.
Yes, ma'am.
According to what I gather from your complaint, there came a time when you moved and your daughter, who was a senior in high school, would have had to have traveled 2 hours each way to school.
Yes.
Your sister, who had just purchased a home close by to the school, volunteered to take your daughter in and have her live with her so that her commute would be an easy one to school. You accepted, and your daughter went to live in her house. And she lived there for several months. Is that what I gather?
A few months, yes, ma'am.
Then something happened involving a bank account, money that was being withdrawn from your account by some sort of link that had been set up erroneously. When she was drawing money out, it wasn't supposed to come out of your account, but it did, and there was some problem with the bank. In any event, you left, and it is your claim that your sister refused to give your daughter back her property. That's what you're suing her for.
Yes, ma'am.
Your sister says that in her counterclaim, you owe her for some collect calls that were received by your daughter from her boyfriend who was in jail, and lost wages nonsense. I don't know what that's about. Forget that. Anyway, that's your counterclaim. What property do you say your sister still has at her house?
Everything Kiana owns.
Just a second. I asked you specifically what you think she has there.
Bed.
Just a minute. Bed. Do you have the bed?
Yes, ma'am.
That goes back. What else?
TV, DVD player.
Shh. When did she purchase it?
About 5 years ago.
Okay, do you have that?
No, ma'am.
Where is it?
She took it. I don't know where it is.
Well, let's go through this very carefully. What property do you have in your house? And let's be very careful about it. What property do you have in your house that belongs to your niece?
Okay. The reason why a bed was still remaining in my home is because Kiana still frequented my house. But according to living things, she was no longer living there. So I do.
No longer living there when?
Mid-November.
Where did she go in mid-November?
She went home with her mom.
Why?
I didn't go home with my mom. I was still living with her. Our Christmas break, I went home with my mom for 2 weeks.
Christmas break started when?
It started December 21st.
When did you start living with your aunt?
I started living with my aunt in the summer of August.
So you were there August, September, October, November, and according to December?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money did you give your sister towards your daughter's support?
Nothing. She said she didn't need anything, but I did.
Just a second. So, for the 5 months that your daughter lived there, according to you, you gave her no support for your child. Do you work?
Yes, I work.
You have other children?
Yes, I do.
How many other children?
I have 2 other children,
How old are they?
14 and 16.
And who else lives in your home?
My boyfriend,
And he works?
he's unemployed at the moment.
Does your daughter's father provide her with child support?
He's deceased
So she gets Social Security disability.
up until last month.
She got, while she was living with your sister, Social Security disability.
Yes,
In what amount?
$93
How often?
every month.
Okay, so the $93 a month that your daughter receives from Social Security, you did not turn over to your sister.
No.
Any reason for that?
Well, I purchased deodorant, bus pass, any necessities that she needed, I provided for her, as well as groceries. I did take her to the grocery store, let her get groceries whenever she needed.
I'm just finding out what's going on here because I have to make a determination who's lying and who's telling the truth.
Your Honor, I have proof as well. Miss Battle is lying. Kiana never moved out of her residence. Kiana was thrown out on January the 18th of 2008 after the incident at the bank. I went to Rhonda. She called me, first of all, irate. I was at work. I told her, I will call you when I calm down because she upset me. I got off work early. I went home, called Miss Battle, asked her what was going on. She informed me that her checking account card and Kiana's savings account card were linked together. So I told her I needed to meet her at the bank so I can find out for myself from the bank. Got to the bank, spoke to a teller. He told me 3 times in front of Miss Battle and Kiana that the 2 cards were not linked together. So at that point, I told Rhonda I'm not writing a check because they said they weren't linked together. We proceeded to leave, driving down the street, same street that Rhonda lives on. I see her throwing my daughter's things in the street. I pull over, ask her what is she doing. She tells me Your daughter stole my money. I stated to her, what did the bank tell you? At that point, she lunged at me and attacked me in my face. And as she attacked me, I grabbed her hand as it was raking down my face. My mouth was open. Her fingers were stuck in my mouth. I grabbed her hand. She pulled my hair, so I pulled her hair.
That all very unbecoming behavior.
Yes.
It ultimately turned out, Miss Brown, that the bank had made a mistake
Yes,
and that the
ma'am.
cards were linked. Just a minute. Ultimately, the bank called you and said, oops, sorry, we made a mistake. Were in fact linked. The money that your daughter was taking out, she was taking out of your sister's bank account.
Yes.
So that she was right. So that the bad behavior that erupted after you went to the bank and they gave you erroneous information.
But that is incorrect, Your Honor. I have the bank statement with the date and the time that we both went to the bank showing that the accounts, that the money was taken out the account. I have that statement.
I understand that,
We're
but
not
she says that
disputing
when
that.
you went to the bank and the two of you spoke to a teller,
Yes.
the idiot teller said to you, no, that's not true, they're not linked.
No, Your Honor, that is not true.
What did the teller
The teller
tell you?
did not have a chance to explain any of that to us.
What were you told when you left the bank?
And initially, when we left the bank, the teller was undetermined. We didn't get any answers. She walked out.
Just a second. She says the teller said no, they weren't. Turned out that they called her.
2 weeks later.
I asked them to call her because she was calling the bank. The bank manager called me personally and said that Ms. Brown was pretending to be me. There was someone pretending to be me. She wanted me to
Whatever.
come in.
You listen, I don't have to go there. It's
Right.
not necessary. We're just saying it turned out that you were right.
Yes, ma'am.
And she was wrong. But you were both wrong for having escalated this thing into something that was pretty ugly.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when she was throwing your daughter's things out on the lawn in front of her house, what was she throwing out?
Her bras, her underwear. She had a whole stack of her jeans that she grabbed from the
And what
closet.
did you do with them?
I didn't pick the stuff up. I was asking Rhonda. As I was talking
Just
to
a
Rhonda,
second,
she
so-
was picking it up, throwing it in her trunk, and she closed her trunk down.
Who did?
Miss Battle.
Why would she throw it out and then put it in her car?
Because she didn't want us to get it.
Nah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have a problem believing both of you. I really do. I think that the two of you are so invested in being bitter with each other that you just are prepared to say anything that's necessary. Both of you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kiana Brown says her aunt, Rhonda Battle, won't return her belongings. Rhonda is accusing Kiana of stealing money from her bank account and is countersuing for lost wages and a phone bill.
Listen to me, Miss Brown. Let me tell you what's distressing to me. What's distressing to me is that, according to your daughter, for the 5 months that she lived with your sister, and your sister took care of her, provided a roof over her head, provided her food and snacks and milk and juice, whatever, light, air, everything else. Put your hand down. Put your hand down. You were receiving money from the government that should have gone to your sister. I'm telling you it should have gone to your sister because you were not providing a home for your daughter, who was being cared for by another person. That person should have had the support that the government was providing. That alone, according to your daughter, is $500. Now, I have to make a judgment as to who's telling me the truth. Your sister, who provided a home free of charge for her niece in order to make her niece's life more comfortable, or you, who got money from the government, did not send it where it should have gone. You say there's $5,000 worth of property that your daughter had at your sister's house.
And I have a witness to that, my other sister, who really doesn't want to be here to testify, but she is willing to tell the truth because my daughter never moved from Rhonda's house.
Whether she moved or not, I don't believe that you had $5,000 worth of property at your sister's house. What?
I had DVD players worth $200, iPods that I bought over a period of time. I love Jordans and Nikes. $400 worth of shoes.
You had a DVD player
Yes, ma'am. I had.
and you had an iPod.
I had DVD players, iPods.
You had a DVD player,
Yes, ma'am. Portable.
not players. You had a DVD player.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you purchase it?
I actually got it for Christmas in 2000. This Christmas from my mother's boyfriend.
How much did those things cost? I have no idea.
They cost about $200 and
You had an iPod?
$277, $250.
You had an iPod.
I had an iPod and it cost $170.
Okay.
You have a digital
A shuffle and my digital camera, and I had Jordans. I had Jordan 1 Retro 1s, Jordan Retro 4s, Jordan Retro 13s.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They're
Jordans are a pair of sneakers, Judge.
they're shoes, tennis
Retros
shoes.
cost
Right.
These kids spend a
Your
lot
Honor,
of money
Ms.
on
Brown
this.
is elaborating on items that she does not have and did not have in my home.
Your Honor, my daughter's father is deceased. She had memorabilia, pictures, wedding tapes. She had jewelry. She didn't receive anything but what she had on her back.
Do you have any of this memorabilia of hers?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Did you have in your house?
At one point, I did.
And what happened to it?
When Kiana moved out in November, because of the phone bills, which is my counterclaim, if I may.
Go ahead.
While Kiana was living in my home, she was accepting collect calls announced to me from her boyfriend in juvenile hall. She ran up my phone.
Who's the boyfriend?
His name is Jelante.
And why were you accepting these collect calls from him?
I actually paid that off with the money I earned from work. I paid everything off.
She never had
Miss
permission
Battle.
to accept calls.
Who did you pay?
I paid Miss Battle the same day that we went to the bank and opened the account.
Well, wait just a second. When did you pay her? Give me the date. Give me the month.
It was when I first got my job. It was my first check that I earned. I'm not sure when.
Give me the month.
I started working in October.
So you got your first check and you paid her for these collect calls, so that would have been in October.
Yes, ma'am.
She says she gave you a check to cover some of those calls, some or all of those calls, sometime in October. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, she did not.
Okay.
In fact, they eventually cut off the phone, and it went to collections, which was very upsetting.
Can I see them, please?
Yes, ma'am. She admits to having a relationship with the boy in jail. So.
Your Honor, when Rhonda called me and told me Kiana was accepting collect calls from her boyfriend from juvenile hall, I told Rhonda that Kiana needs to be responsible. Her first check, Rhonda took her to open up a savings account.
You weren't there. Don't tell me.
I talked to her.
You weren't there. Don't tell me.
Well, she told me that she paid her the money because I asked her.
You know something? I have a problem believing both of you. I really do. I think that the two of you are so invested in being bitter with each other that you just are prepared to say anything that's necessary. Both of you. I do believe that your sister took some stuff because she was furious, that she says that you were assaultive to her. She said that you scratched her face, that she couldn't go to work.
I have
she was,
proof.
Just a minute. I'm telling you what she says. And because she says that, whether it's true or it's not true, I assume she believes that that's what happened. And you said she pulled my hair. I did what I had to do to defend myself. Probably shouldn't have stopped the car at that point. You probably should have just gone to the police and said her stuff is outside and I don't want to get involved with it because my sister's too angry. But there was a time when your sister was very loving and very supportive of both you and your daughter.
And me, her.
Just a second. Did you ever take care of her children in your house?
Yes, I've taken her son when he was 2 weeks old. She was tired, needed some help.
How long did he stay with you?
Every other weekend sometime.
Oh, listen, we're not talking about the same thing. We're talking about having a teenage child living with her, a child who has limited judgment if she's got a boyfriend in Folsom, juvenile detention. Well, that's where the collect calls come from, Folsom, California.
Okay.
Right? So a teenager with limited judgment living in her house because it's more convenient for her to get to school. That is not something that somebody does who's a bad person. So clearly, something happened between the two of you. What got in between the two of you was a teenager. That's what got in between the two of you. And a teenager who inadvertently got some funds taken out of an account that shouldn't have been. You did not support your sister when she said it happened. I mean, I got what? Don't show me receipts. You didn't say to your sister, look, I don't know what happened. Whatever happened, I'll take care of it if that's what happened. You said, prove it to me. Meet me at the bank. You got to the bank, and the bank didn't right away say, listen, we made a mistake. So you said, you see, my daughter was right. You were wrong. You accused her of taking money out of your account, and that was wrong. And you left. Turned out, she was right. But what got in between you two, formerly loving sisters, because you used to take care of her baby, she took care of your bigger baby, turned into an ugly, vicious situation. Ugly and vicious because she tried to do something that was good and positive for your daughter, and because of circumstances over which neither one of you had control, but over which both of you acted badly.
Your Honor, once I found out, I went immediately and I paid that bill.
I got you. The damage was already done. The fight had already taken place.
Yes, ma'am.
The scratching had already taken place. The hair pulling had already taken place.
Yes, ma'am.
She had already tossed out your daughter's stuff because she was angry, tossed it out, sold it, whatever, and she probably, if it took 2 weeks for the bank to come up with the ultimate solution, which was they were wrong, it was probably, if she did sell some property that belonged to your daughter, probably within that 2-week period that she did it until the bank notified her that you would come in and made restitution on that account. I also, what?
Your Honor, I also have documentation from Kiana's school where this incident has really brought emotional distress from her teacher.
Listen, I'm sure about that.
I also have receipts where I had to replace eyeglasses.
It's enough.
Okay.
It's enough. You got to let it rest.
But I don't have nothing. She has all my stuff.
I don't think she has your stuff anymore.
I had DVD players that I bought, that my mom helped me buy. Everything that I ever owned. Everything from my mom's house.
Why do you think she would do that?
Because she thought I stole her money, which I didn't. And we have receipts saying we paid her back. I have receipts. I had to go buy all new stuff.
Just a second. You paid her back for what?
For the money that they said that was taken off of my card.
Just a minute. You were using a credit card?
No, it's a bank debit card.
A savings account card.
And you had money in your savings account?
Yes, ma'am.
So instead of taking the money out of your savings account, they were taking it out of her checking account?
Yes, ma'am.
Over what period of time?
They said it was for, like, I just barely got the card. I was supposed to have first card come, but I guess she said she had it in her safe, so she ordered another card. And so when she finally gave it to me, it was open and everything. So I was like, okay, you know, I finally got my card. You know, I was still putting money. It's my senior year. You know, it's my year to be 18, and I can't do nothing because I have to buy all new stuff. I can't really concentrate on school because
Well, start concentrating on school. This is just stuff. They're just things.
But
These are things. Very unfortunate.
My dad pictures. My dad is dead.
Well, that if you had those things and if you no longer have them, Miss Battle, because you got angry with your sister and you got angry with your niece, and in a fit of anger you threw them out. If you threw those things out, that was absolutely a terrible thing to do. You understand that?
If I'd done that, that would have been a terrible thing to do, Your Honor.
Yeah.
But those things were not in my home.
The things that are packable should be put in a box and shipped to them. The bed, if you want it, you'll have to arrange for a marshal to be there to escort you in to pick it up. Okay. So those things are going to be returned to you. I'm awarding you $1,500 for clothes and the replacement value for an iPod, DVD player, some sneakers, etc. $500 for punitive damages, because I do believe that you threw away the pictures and her memorabilia, which are irreplaceable because you were in a bad mood. That's $2,000. Now, I was going to deduct the $500 that I think that you should have paid to your sister for the support of your daughter for the 5 months that you allege she was there. Instead, I think that you should take $500 out of your pocket and add that to your daughter's losses, which would make it $2,500 that she has to spend to replace her stuff. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And on your counterclaim, Miss Battle, I don't think that you had any losses whatsoever, and I do believe that this young lady paid you for the phone bill, so your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Elle Van Buren is suing her ex-husband, Chris Ackerman, for reimbursement of money garnished by the IRS and for his share of their son's medical bills.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 515 on the calendar, the matter of Van Buren versus Ackerman.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Van Buren, when were you and Mr. Ackerman married?
1994 to 2007.
And you have one child?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you and Mr. Ackerman live together?
We lived together probably from 1992 to 2006.
So far, is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Your one child is 15, and I believe from my reading of the paper that Mr. Ackerman has custody of that child. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are under a child support order for that child?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Is it correct that you are currently in arrears on your child support and your driver's license was suspended because of that?
Yes, ma'am.
You are $15,000 in arrears?
That is not accurate.
How
Yes,
much in arrears are you?
Closer to 16, Your Honor.
I didn't actually come to court to prepare to prove what I've paid on child support.
That's not my question.
On file it says $15,000, but I can prove
Fine.
that I don't owe that much. There was a period of time.
Just a second. And your license was suspended in January of this year, 2011, for
yes,
non-payment
because of a payroll mistake at my job.
For non-payment of child support. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Was your driver's license suspended in January?
Yes, ma'am.
What was it suspended for?
For non-payment of child support.
That's what I said.
There was a clerical error that my payroll department made.
Maybe yes, maybe no. This is what your lawsuit is about. First, you claim that your wages might be garnished and you have to pay an IRS debt that was accrued during the time that you and Mr. Ackerman lived together. So you want him to be responsible for half of that IRS debt.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When were you notified of that IRS debt?
I had made attempts in 2008 to make this right with the IRS. I didn't get far enough in the process before they levied my account in 2009.
Ms. Van Buren, when did this IRS debt accrue? From what year to what year?
I'm sorry, the years of 2000 through 2006.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
What years?
2003 to 2006.
And you were still married then, is that right, Mr. Ackerman?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were divorced in 2007?
Correct.
When, if ever, were you notified of this deficiency?
After her license was suspended, she filed the lawsuit a week later for the back taxes. That's the first I found out about it.
Ms. Van Buren, when for the first time did you have communication, either by email or letter, with Mr. Ackerman that you had received a notice of deficiency from the IRS?
We both knew in that marriage.
Don't tell me what we knew.
I notified him of the levy of my account either the day of or the day after.
The day of or the day after what?
When they levied my account.
Show me your initial notice from the Internal Revenue Service.
What I have is a bank statement.
That's no good. I want to see the statement from the IRS indicating...
I have documentation with me from the IRS, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at it. Do you have any documentation with you from the IRS?
I have tax returns.
That's not what I want.
May I request some assistance from my witness, please?
Who is your witness?
Jason Schwiller.
Who is it?
My boyfriend.
No. 2004, you were still living together. 2005, you were still living together. 2009, you were divorced.
Right.
Correct.
2003, I'm not interested in. Well, this is to you, Ms. Ackerman, indicating that you worked out a tax repayment plan with the IRS. There's a letter here, December 31st, 2009, indicating that there was an overpayment on his tax return of $304, but that's after the divorce.
Right, that was supposed to be a refund, and they added it to the back taxes.
What do you mean they added it? You mean they paid down the back
Correct.
taxes?
Correct.
And how many times did they do that?
I think that was the only time.
Okay, and how much have you paid them back?
I paid them with my refunds that I have filed in 2007, 8, and 9. All that was taken
Not
from me.
7. How much was taken in 2008 and how much was taken in 2009?
All of them, and I don't have the amounts with me.
Well, then I can't help you. How am I supposed to help you? He had his refund taken and applied to back taxes as well. How do you expect me to make it as equal as I can if you don't know how much they took of your refund? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What are you doing here? What do you want here? Why did you file this claim?
Your Honor, may I speak?
No.
And later today,
There has to be some basis for a lawsuit. Otherwise, what you do is you clog up the courts.
I agree with that.
nonsense.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Van Buren says ex-husband Chris Ackerman owes for money garnished from her account by the IRS and for half of their son's unreimbursed medical bills.
Ms. Van Buren, you want to tell me what you believe that Mr. Ackerman owes you with regard to unpaid medical expenses for your child?
February 7th of 2010, our son was involved in a serious accident. He was taken to an emergency room and then transported by ambulance to another hospital to receive emergency surgery.
Okay.
I've gotten all the bills paid except for just under $5,000 of that. I have my divorce decree stating that he was responsible for half.
Does your divorce decree say who's supposed to have insurance for him?
She
Yes,
is
ma'am.
supposed to have insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
You're shouting out.
And I am, and I've always insured my child.
But your insurance lapsed
Yes, it did. I have always had my son covered. The insurance company that I have through my job has a verifications benefits company. I have a document stating that they had him covered in 2010. They had dropped the wrong dependent. It was a big mess. I said, look, you need to switch this. You need to take my ex-husband off that had been my ex-husband for 3 years. I said, you need to take him off there and put my child back on. When I went to re-enroll him for coverage they should have never denied him to begin with, they said that I failed to provide proper documents for the insurability of him. In other words, I needed to prove insurability. After 3 trips to the courthouse, birth certificate, social security card, they were not happy with the 2 pages that I provided of my divorce decree.
Ms. Van Buren, your judgment of divorce provides that you are to maintain insurance for the child. The insurance lapsed through no fault of his, whether it was your fault or a combination your fault and the insurance company's fault. What you're asking me to do is to say because you were under court order to provide insurance.
Which I did provide insurance, ma'am.
No. If you did, then we wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
I had him covered.
Then you would have had no medical bills.
Well, I can't get all the medical bills, or some of the medical bills are not going to pay.
Miss Van Buren, he did not have any insurance. I mean, you can't have it both ways. At the time of his accident, was he insured or not insured?
He was not insured,
Sure.
but I got the bills paid. I got him covered, and then after that, I got him continuous coverage to the state of Georgia.
Miss Van Buren, you're not following my question. 2 answers. Either he was covered when he was in his accident, or he was not covered. Was he covered or not covered?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, he was covered.
If he was covered, then why did you have thousands of dollars in medical bills? Show me where they applied your insurance to his bills, and if your divorce decree provides that his father should pay for 1/2 of the unreimbursed medical bills, I'll be more than happy to award you half of that. But I want to see where you had bills that were covered by insurance and there was a deductible or something else. Do you have any of those?
No, I only have the...
Of course not.
I only have the bills that they didn't pay.
No, because he was not insured at the time of his accident, correct? Is that correct?
I had him covered for the month of the accident.
He wasn't insured at the time of the accident.
Not under the insurance company that is provided by my employer, no.
Well, just a second.
The bills that were incurred by this accident was probably $250,000. He went under 2 major surgeries, okay? And after I thank God that he was alive, my sole purpose was to get this child covered. Because as far as I was concerned, it's not my fault that they dropped my child. I have always had my child insured.
Miss Van Buren, it may not be your fault, but it's not his.
Exactly.
I don't know whether it's your fault or not, but I know it's not his fault because your divorce decree, I mean, I've read your papers very carefully, provided that you were to make child support payments and you were to keep him covered by your insurance. And your former husband was to pay for 1/2 of the unreimbursed medical bills. That's standard language. Is that what it says in your divorce decree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so all you have to do is show me the bills that were paid by insurance, what your deductible or unreimbursed medical bills were, and I will entertain them. And if you don't have those, I can't help you.
I don't have those documents, ma'am.
Well, then I can't help you, Miss Van Buren. I don't know where you thought you were coming today. You know, you came here for 2 different reasons, and you don't have paperwork with regard to either one.
I think right off the bat you were misinformed by some arrears that I owe. I was not prepared to come here and prove that I have been providing for my child. So I think right from the get-go, you don't like me because I have to pay my child support, which is not the truth.
Miss Van Buren,
I have been providing for my child.
You can get exercised, but what I'm telling you is, based upon your papers that I read, you were aware of this tax debt for a long time. You told me that you were aware of this tax debt for the last 3 years.
So was he. He was aware of it. I was too.
Listen to me.
Aware of it.
Hey, listen to me carefully. You can get as exercised as you like. You didn't sue him until after your driver's license was suspended last month. That's when you got angry. And don't get angry with him. Don't get angry with me.
My license. I'm not on trial here for child support.
I didn't say you were, madam. What I'm saying to you, madam, is you had 2 issues. You brought proof of neither.
I only want it fair. We were married for 12 years. For 6 years, we did not file taxes, and he knew that. Why should I be responsible to pay all of this? And it's paid in full, and that's what I'm happy about.
Miss Van Buren, All I asked you was to show me what your tax refund
And I'm not able
was
to
that
buy
were
that for you,
taken.
but you know what? It's paid, and really that's what I care
So then
about.
what are you doing here? What do you want here? If it's paid and then you're happy with that, then what are you doing here? Why did you file this claim? And if you file the claim, it's your responsibility to bring the paperwork.
You don't ask me?
No. Because if you knew anything, you would have to have the paperwork here.
We have paperwork.
Well, she doesn't have it here.
She has bank statements showing payment paid to the IRS.
Not bank statements. IRS statements that show we have taken the following: $304 on your past due IRS debt. That's what the letter shows from the IRS. That's what she will have someplace, not a bank statement. That's all. Thank you. That's all.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He knows he owes me half his tax debt.
I had no clue. She lied then, and now she's lying about the insurance on the child.
I hope that, we can communicate, but I don't think it's going to get any better from here.
I would like to be able to communicate with her, but she's very unreasonable, and I don't see that happening.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Wiseman versus Carmen. Step forward.
Diane Wiseman is suing former business associate Molly Carmen for expenses she incurred while studying to become a private detective.
Miss Wiseman, let me see if I can put in a very Reader's Digest way what this case is about, so perhaps I can simplify it for both myself and for the two of you. You wanted to go into the private investigation business. Could you stop, Miss Carmen? Papers down.
I'm sorry.
It's not so...
I'm sorry.
Not so difficult. Miss Wiseman, you wanted to go into the private investigation business. According to your complaint, you contacted the defendant, who had been a private investigator for quite some time.
Yes, ma'am.
You made some sort of an arrangement with her where she would come and instruct you so that you could get your license. In what jurisdiction?
Washington State.
Miss Carmen traveled to Washington State from
Boise, Idaho.
At her own expense to come and work with you in setting up your business and doing some training.
Yes, ma'am.
You had no written agreement with her whatsoever, and no oral agreement with regard to a partnership, an arrangement to sharing of income. I don't know why she did it. I don't care. But there was no contract between the two of you. So far, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Miss Carmen, according to your complaint, did not follow through with what she had to do to take a test in Washington State in order to train you. And therefore, you had to hire someone else and do some other paperwork in order to get your license.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want her to pay for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Carmen wants to be compensated for her travel to the state of Washington, even though there was no agreement to compensate her for travel. So far, correct?
Correct.
So, what you need, Miss Wiseman, is a cause of action. And you don't have a cause of action. You don't have a cause of action for breach of contract. Contract requires an offer, an acceptance, and consideration. Those are the basic parts of any contract, whether it be written contract or an oral contract. What was Miss Carmen supposed to get out of this arrangement?
She was supposed to get part of the ability to be able to work with us.
I don't know what that means.
She was going to work with us. And if she came to Washington State, she came to Washington State because her son and grandbabies live there. So.
I assumed that she didn't come just for you.
Right.
I assumed that you were an afterthought in her visiting somebody else there. I assumed she didn't come for you. In any event, you don't have a contract. That's a nebulous sort of thing. She was supposed to get something to work maybe with us and maybe... That's not a contract. Bird has this. I need this. He knows how much I need this. Mm-hmm. This is a calculator. So I say, Bird, would you sell this to me? And he says, I'll sell it to you for $5. Mm-hmm. I give him $5. Offer, acceptance, the $5 is consideration. Now I have this, whether it's oral or in writing. That's a contract. But you have no contract. You asked her for help. She came. It didn't work out. So you had to do what you had to do in order to get licensed. She's not responsible for that. You understand? I thought I might tell you that. Now, under what theory do you think you're entitled to be compensated for your travel to the state of Washington?
Well, Your Honor, she was in a hurry. I wouldn't have traveled on those dates, but she was on medical leave from her job.
I don't care about that. Did she tell you she would reimburse you for your travel?
No, she did not, but I
So-
was doing it out of the kindness of my heart.
Good. Then what are you bothering the courts for?
No good deed goes unpunished, I
Well,
guess.
I mean, but I don't understand why you're bothering the courts with your lawsuits.
I don't think I'm bothering you, hopefully. I think
Actually, it is. There has to be some basis for a lawsuit. Otherwise, what you do is you clog up the courts.
I agree with that.
nonsense. And put your hand down. There has to be some basis for a lawsuit, either in negligence,
Right.
contract, breach of warranty.
I do believe there was
something.
negligence, ma'am.
There wasn't negligence, madam. She has to owe you a duty. She doesn't owe you a duty to take a test so that she could train you.
But she agreed to.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Ms. Wiseman, you didn't put your ears on. There has to be offer, acceptance, and consideration. You do not have a contract with her. Put your hand down.
I'm sorry.
Bird wants his room cleaned. He's very messy. I say I have nothing to do on Saturday. I'll come over and clean your room. On Saturday, I said, what am I, crazy? I'm not going to go over and clean Bird's room. Or I go over there on Saturday, I look at it and I say, you know, this is a real pig pen. I'm not cleaning this room. And Bird said, you said you would come over and clean my room. And now I'm going to go and hire somebody and pay him $200 to clean my room and charge you for it.
Exactly.
Well, that's exactly what you're doing, Ms.
exactly
Wiseman.
right.
Now, did I make that
exactly right.
clear to you now?
I'm clear.
Good. Case is dismissed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
His girlfriend, Deanna Ginter, for the return of his furniture and other belongings, and for an unpaid loan.
All rise.
Yeah, that's case number 378 on the calendar in the matter of Hayes versus Ginter. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ladies. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Hayes, it is your claim that the defendant has some property that belongs to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Ginter says she does not have any property that belongs to you. Property was purchased out of joint accounts when you were, in fact, living together. She has a counterclaim for harassment. I have a few questions for you. When did you and Ms. Ginter live together?
From 2005 until 2009.
And you split up in 2009. What month in 2009?
That would be November.
And when you split up in 2009, you left.
She left. She left to move back to her mother's.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what did you take with you?
I only took the things that he allowed me to take.
That was in November of 2009.
Correct.
What did you take?
I took my personal belongings, my clothing and things. I took my children's bedroom sets, and I took some miscellaneous household type kitchen utensils, things like that.
And you went home to your mother in November?
Correct.
Are you still there now?
No, I'm not.
When did you leave your mother's house?
In June of this year.
Did you sue Mr. Hayes in December of 2009?
No, I did not.
January 2010?
No, I did not.
February 2010?
No, I did not.
March, April, May, June, July?
No.
No. So when you say he allowed you to take only certain items, you never questioned the ownership of those items legally?
No, I
until later. Okay. We're setting the stage for certain things, Mr. Hayes. Do you understand?
Oh, yes.
Now, you got a job offer.
Yes.
And because you maintained reasonable relations with the defendant, according to you, you moved some of your furniture and property belongings into her home. In what month?
That would be June.
June 2010.
Yes.
The same month she left her mother's house.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
And you paid her $200 to store your property.
Yes.
That she acknowledges that you gave her $200 to store your property. Then you were going for a job someplace. That didn't work out.
Correct.
You came back, and she refuses to give you back your furniture, the same furniture that you had had from November of 2009 until June 2010.
Yes, plus a bedroom set that I had bought separately. She has that.
When did you purchase that?
I purchased that in April of this
So
year.
you moved that bedroom furniture?
Yes, I paid $600
Great.
for that.
I don't care. If I find that's your furniture, you're going to get it back.
Right.
Now, when he came back, did he make a demand for his furniture?
Yes, he did.
And when he came with the police, you told them that it was not his furniture, it had been purchased from a joint account.
That's correct.
And that's the same furniture that you had not sued him for or made any claim to legally. November, December, January, February, March, April, May.
But when he put it in my house, He gave it to me because he said he would not be needing it because he would be living in a man camp with this new job and that I could have it.
Well, Miss Ginther, you see, you're in a little bit of trouble with me right now because that's not what you say in your answer.
Okay.
And you give me a total different excuse in your answer as to why he shouldn't have his furniture back. Nowhere in your answer do you say he made me a gift.
No, I don't.
No, just a second. So, either you have to be telling the truth now, or you have to be telling the truth when you swore to your answer. You also have to be lying either now or lying when you swore to the answer.
I made several attempts to give him back this stuff.
Just a second. Shut up. Shh, just a second. You mean including the furniture?
Yes, I did.
Just a second. Well, now we have yet a third answer. So the third answer is now you made attempts to give him back the property.
Because I wanted him to quit posting things.
Just
My life was in danger.
Miss Ginther, listen to me very carefully. I haven't gotten to your counterclaim yet. But when you're not truthful with me with regard to his claim, and you give me so far 3 cockamamie answers with regard to the claim, then I'm going to question what you tell me and your counterclaim, which, quite frankly, I viewed as very serious. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do.
All right. Now, you keep saying, yes, I do, but you say, yes, I do, with the same vacant look in your eye. Either he made you a gift of the furniture, or you claimed, as you claimed to the police, that it was purchased from a joint account and therefore it's not his, or you tried to give it back to him and he wouldn't take it. Which one is it?
It is all 3. We bought it on a joint account. It was our furniture. He
gets back all the furniture.
Fine.
Is that... Listen to me.
That's what I wanted.
Listen to me. You're getting back all the furniture. Do you understand?
Yes, but she doesn't have...
Listen to me.
The list.
Listen to me, sir. You're getting back all your furniture. I am now going to entertain her counterclaim for harassment, which, quite frankly, if any of it is true, it's very serious. And if I enter a monetary claim on her behalf for her counterclaim, I'm going to hold that money until she returns all your furniture. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Stand perfectly. Now you can tell me about the harassment. Tell me about it. Show me the postings that he posted about you. Then I will ask him about it. I will ask him about his guilty plea to what, sir?
Disturbing the peace.
It was reduced.
Shh. Don't tell me it was reduced.
Okay.
I'd like to see in the postings how he harassed you on the internet.
Okay.
And then I'll take testimony about it.
Here are the top ones. The first one talks about how he puts my address, my phone number, my name, a description of me.
Just a second, I can read.
In Craigslist.
I can read.
And then the top one says, is somebody who responds. Did you post this, sir? 45 to the forehead, make it look like a home invasion, one less thieving, R.I.P. Did you post that?
No, I don't.
Did you post that?
No. I didn't post anything like that. The things I posted on Craigslist were my property. I put it on Craigslist because she took it and I didn't want her to have it.
Just a second. I'm reading the email, sir. I'm trying to find out whether you did it when you were sober or drunk. Do you understand?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know, and you're going to die. I hope you die in a horrible car crash.
Don't you know any other words?
I was pretty angry. I was drunk that night, too.
I have a feeling you're drunk a lot.
And later today.
So it's the babysitter's fault. It's ridiculous!
Would you like to see the pictures of it?
I don't care to see the pictures. It's a ridiculous counterclaim. I never heard anything so ridiculous.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Hayes says ex-girlfriend Deanna Ginter refuses to return his belongings. Deanna claims Mark abandoned the property at her home. She is countersuing, claiming Mark has been harassing her over the internet.
I want you to show this to the plaintiff, please.
Second one, yes. First one, no. The second one was posted when I was in my hotel room after I called the police and went to get my stuff with the U-Haul, and she wouldn't give me anything back. And I was on the phone with the police.
I don't care. And I think that you posted both of them, even if you posted only one of them. It's awful.
But her taking all my property isn't awful when I show up there and I have to call the police?
Listen to me very carefully, sir. She didn't take your property. You put your property in her house and you paid for storage. That's what courts are for. That's what I just said to the defendant a moment ago. I said, you made no claim to that property November, December, January, February, March, April, May, until he put the property in your house and then came back for it, and then you didn't give it back to him. I said, the reason I'm not even entertaining the claim that it's yours is because he left, he took the property, and you didn't sue him. That's what you do to someone who you believe has property that belongs to you and is retaining it. You sue them. You don't importune other people to call her, harass her, threaten her, or anything else on the internet. That's not what the internet is for. That's what courts are for. We understand each other?
Yes.
Perfect.
I also have some voicemail messages I'd like you to listen to.
I'd like to hear them. And by the way, just a second, hold on. I don't care about your list. This is what she's returning to you. Listen up very carefully. She's returning to you exactly what you say in this. She's returning to you TV, tools, and a bedroom set. That's what she's returning to you, because that's what you say she retained that belonged to you in this email, or whatever it is, posting.
Well, the police said that she doesn't have any of my tools. None of my stuff's there.
Listen to me very carefully, sir. That's what she's returning. I don't care if she returns a screwdriver to you. Do you understand? That's what you said in the email she retained, so I don't care about the laundry list of items that you were prepared to show me. Now I'll listen to it.
Hey, guess what? I'm back. So you just remember that. I'm back. So hopefully your Chevy back meets somebody that'll feel sorry for you and stuff and find out your pills. And too bad you didn't die, you know, that when you took all them Ambien. You just should have died right there. Kids should have let you take them. World be a better place. You're a moron. And you're a thief. You steal. That's what you do. You steal to get what you want. So you know what? You're just, and your mom's the same way. Both of you, you're just idiots. You don't care about anybody else but yourselves. So you know what? You. I hope you die.
Okay, and then just one moment, there's one more.
You know what? I hope you die, you piece of... You're the worst person I ever met. You are the worst mother person ever in the world. You know that? And you're going to die. I hope you die in a horrible car crash.
Don't you know any other words? Don't you know any other words?
I was pretty angry. I was drunk that night, too.
I have a feeling you're drunk a lot. And it really doesn't make any difference because, you know, I mean, that's nasty.
Well,
just listen to me. That's nasty. This is something other than nasty. This is dangerous.
He also put on there that I would be a sex slave. I received text messages, phone calls.
No, because this is dangerous.
Yes.
Posting it is dangerous. That's why I'm awarding you $4,000 on your counterclaim. That's what you're suing for. That's what I'm awarding you. You're going to get it as soon as he gets back his TV in good shape, his bedroom set in good shape, and his tools.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Perfect. You have your TV, you have your bedroom set, you have your tools, and you have a big mouth. The big mouth is going to cost you $4 grand. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He thought we were going to get back together.
Yeah, it just disintegrated.
And he thought he could move in and everything would be happy.
She stole everything I had.
And he found out it wasn't going to be that way.
Every single thing I had, she stole.
Very, very hurtful. More frightened than hurtful, though.
She got my truck repossessed, then...
Because I was scared for my life.
I kind of had a lot of animosity.
Hopefully he doesn't do it to anybody else.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Sandberg versus King. Step forward.
18-year-old nanny Felicia Sandberg is suing former client Cassie King for unpaid babysitting fees. Cassie claims Felicia's services were substandard.
Miss Sandberg, it is your claim that Miss King owes you babysitting services.
Yes.
that you performed and she didn't pay you for. Miss King's defense is not that you didn't work the hours, because I've read your answer very carefully. Your defense is that you didn't think her services were adequate, and therefore you did not pay her.
Correct.
And you have a counterclaim because you say that while your 2 little children were in her care, they wrote with some marker on your couch and you had to have your sofa cleaned. You think she's responsible for paying for that?
I do.
All right, so let's get some things straight in my mind.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't give a rat's behind what you were looking for. You ate the hamburger. And if you eat the hamburger, you've got to pay for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nanny Felicia Sandberg says former client Cassie King owes for unpaid babysitting fees. Cassie is countersuing for the cost to clean her love seat and sofa.
What kind of work do you do, Miss King?
I work in the fast food industry right now. I'm home with my children.
Who else works in your household?
My husband.
What kind of work does he do?
He works in the lumber industry.
Is this your husband?
This is my husband.
Could you stand up? I have some questions for you. How long have you been working for the same company, Mr. King?
4 years.
How much do you make an hour?
$10 an hour.
And how much do you make at your job, Mrs. King?
I make $8.75 an hour. I work part-time.
Okay. Now, initially, Miss Sandberg was hired to watch both your children, and you were paying her $6 an hour.
If I may.
And then...
when I hired her, it was $6 an hour, $3 per kid per hour.
Just a second. You were paying her $6 an hour to watch both of your children.
Correct.
Not $3 a kid.
Well, I said child.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then when one of the children was to school or whatever, you initially offered her $3 an hour because that's what you felt she should be paid for watching one child plus tidying up the house.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
In a daycare center, that is what it is. It's $3.75 an hour per child.
I don't care what it is in a daycare center. A daycare center, you bring your children there and they're there with other children.
And I don't have to come home to a mess either.
Listen to me, Miss King. I'm going to give it to you a one-shot deal.
Okay.
There is no issue of whether or not Miss Sandberg worked the hours for this $202 that she is requesting in pay before you let her go.
Correct.
The issue is whether you were satisfied with her service while she was performing those services, because you claim she slept on the couch. You claim that you came home one day and found the house untidy on more than one occasion. You claim that on one occasion you came home and found a chair in the middle of the kitchen, which suggested to you that your little 3-year-old was trying to get his own food.
Correct.
All of those things. So now I'm going to go back to what you do part-time. You work in the fast food industry.
Correct.
What do you do in the fast food industry?
I work as a waitress, if you will.
Okay. Let's say somebody comes in and orders a hamburger and fries, and you serve them. Mm-hmm. And they take their burger and fries, and they go to the table, and they eat it. And then you present them with a bill. And they say, we're not paying the bill. I didn't like the burger and fries. And you say to them, well, if you didn't like the burger, if there was something wrong with it, why didn't you bring it back before you finished it?
Correct.
So that I could make you another one.
That is
Or
our
if
policy.
you didn't like the fries, why did you eat them?
I did.
Why did you eat them? You understand where I'm going, Miss King?
I do, and I
If
did.
you found her services to be substandard, then you pay her for her service rendered the first time you're unhappy with her care of your 3-year-old, and you find somebody else.
I was looking for somebody else.
I don't give a rat's behind what you were looking for. You ate the hamburger. And if you eat the hamburger, you've got to pay for it.
Okay.
Now, you have a ridiculous counterclaim.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, your counterclaim is that while under her care, one or both of your children used a magic marker or an indelible pen or something on a piece of your furniture, and it was under her watch, so she should pay for it.
Yes. Would you like to see the pictures of it?
I don't care to see the pictures. It's a ridiculous counterclaim. I never heard anything so ridiculous. It's almost like saying, well, While under her watch, she served my son a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and afterwards he took the plate and he dropped it on the floor. And if she had been watching him more carefully, he would not have dropped the plate on the floor, and therefore she owes me a new set of dishes because it was 1 out of 8 dishes. Now I only have 7, and I can't replace the dish, so it's the babysitter's fault. It's ridiculous! Counterclaims dismissed. $202. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Wilson is suing mother of 3, 23-year-old sales rep Adrienne Dixon for slander and loss of work.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 93 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson versus Dixon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Young lady, have a seat, please.
Miss Wilson, there was a time that you provided daycare for the defendant's 3 children. According to your complaint, as a result of some scandalous and slanderous remarks that the defendant made, you lost income.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And you want her to compensate you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your oldest daughter?
Yes.
And you have 2 little ones, toddlers?
Yes.
How many days a week did you take care of?
Sunday through Thursday.
From what time to what time?
From 6:30 to 3 o'clock.
You were going to work, I assume?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have children of your own?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
11 and 4.
When did the trouble begin?
March 22nd.
And tell me what happened.
Chantel had told me after
That's Chantel?
Yes. After I picked him up from the babysitter, from her house, she had told me that Rhoda had left him in the car alone while she went inside 2 stores. And she had the keys in the car. She had the car running also. She didn't wake up till 10 in the morning. I dropped them off at 6:30. They didn't eat breakfast. As soon as they woke up, she said, Rhoda said, come on, it's time to go. She didn't have my 1-year-old, she was 1 year, she was 1 then. She didn't have her in a car seat. She had my son, it wasn't in a car seat. He was in a, like a carrier, and she didn't have him strapped in. And Tiara, my youngest daughter, was sitting on Chantel's lap in the car. And she also didn't have my permission to take them from her house.
To take them off the premises?
Mm-hmm.
Had she ever taken them off the premises before?
Not that I know of, no.
Do you remember coming home and telling your mom about this car ride that you took?
Yes.
You want you to come up here so we can talk?
Yeah.
Tell me your name again.
Chantel.
And you're 9?
Yes.
What grade are you in school?
4th. I'm going to 4th.
You do well in school?
Yes.
Good. Tell me what you told her.
I told her that we woke up until 10 and we didn't...
What do you mean you woke up until 10?
I mean, Miss Rhoda woke up until 10. And
well, she didn't get up until 10. Who took care of you from 6:30 to 10?
Nobody. She just kept waking up and didn't check in on us.
Where were the babies?
Sleep. And somewhere wake up. My sister was woke.
So you told your mom about this business in the car. Were you strapped in a car in your seatbelt?
No.
And what about your brother?
No.
And your little sister?
No, she was sitting on my lap.
How old is your little sister?
1. Now she's 2.
But at that time she was 1-year-old.
Yes.
Now when you say she was sitting on your lap, were you sitting in the front of the car or in the back of the car?
Back.
And was she sitting on your lap when the car was moving?
Yes.
Have a seat over there with your mom. Okay. So after your daughter told you about this, what did you do?
I was mad, and the next day I went over there to get my son's pacifier from Rhoda.
And what happened?
She asked me how come I hadn't brought them, and I told her why, and we were arguing.
So the next day you didn't bring your children back?
No.
Did you file any report?
With the police and with the Gary County Health Department.
And when did you do that?
The health department, I did that the next day. The police, I think I did that about, I'd say 5 to 7 days after I had filed it with the health department.
Can you tell me why you, after you notified the health department, which I assume licenses you, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why you notified the police?
Because they didn't contact me back right away. I wanted to make sure that something would be done about it.
How many other children were in your care at the time you were taking care of Miss Dixon's children?
14.
14 children?
Yes, I did 18 hours straight, 7 days a week.
14 children?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're saying the same time. I'm sorry. It was my 4-year-old, my 11-year-old, the 13-year-old, and his brother David, which is 6 years old.
And her 3 children?
And her 3 children.
It's a lot of children to take care of. Okay, now is it that complaint to the health department and to the police department that you are complaining of today?
No, my complaint is, Your Honor, is the slander. She made a police report saying that I left her kids in the car by themselves and went shopping in Walmart. That's the complaint, Your Honor.
Yes.
That's the slander, and that's the slander that she spread it all over Junction City, stating that I left her kids in the car and went shopping in Walmart, and how she got my contract taken away from the state. She was bragging about that.
Well, let's go back a second, Miss Wilson. You did, in fact, go out to run a couple of quick errands with the children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you supposed to take the children off premises in a car when you're taking care of them?
With the signed permission slip, Your Honor.
Do you have a signed permission slip from her?
No, ma'am.
So that you had no right to take them off the premises?
Verbally, she told me, she asked me if it was okay for her to work 2 hours overtime. The 2 hours overtime that I was working for her, Your Honor, was my off time. She called and asked if it was okay for her to work 2 hours overtime. I said, yeah. I said, but I have to run a couple of errands. That's what I told her. But I said, yeah, you go ahead and work 2 hours overtime.
Did you have a signed permission slip from her to take her children off the premises?
No, ma'am.
The answer is no.
No, ma'am.
So you're not allowed to take her children off the premises?
Verbally. Well, no, ma'am. No, ma'am.
You took other children in the car with you, too, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children other than the defendant's children were in the car?
It was Xavier, the 13-year-old, David, my 4-year-old, and her 3.
So you had 5 children in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
How many car seats did you have in the car?
I had 1 car seat.
And who was using that car seat?
The baby.
Which baby?
Romeo, the 12-month-old, was in the car seat.
That's her baby?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old is the next oldest child?
The next oldest was her child, I guess she 18 months.
Was that child in a car seat?
No, ma'am.
You know that's against the law.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I went in and out of those places, Your
Doesn't
Honor.
make any difference. You left 5 children in the car for a moment.
And later today,
Madam, why did you sign the back of the check?
Let me see, because I don't know.
It's a check made out to cash. You cashed the check.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daycare provider Rhoda Wilson says client Adrian Dixon damaged her reputation with slander. Adrian says Rhoda neglected her children.
Where was the first stop you made?
The first stop I made was at the cleaners, Your Honor.
You left 5 children in the car and ran into the cleaners.
It was driving cleaners, Your Honor. My car was right there by the door.
You left the children in the car for a moment.
With the 13-year-old.
For a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, where was the second place that you went?
The Quick Sack.
What is that?
That's a convenience store.
And what did you have to buy there?
The bread and the vanilla wafers for my PM snack.
And did you take all 5 children into that store with you?
No, ma'am.
So, Miss Wilson, you left the 5 children in the car alone. I don't have to go any further with you. Were you issued any sort of citation?
All they got me for was improper seatbelting.
Did you take a plea, or did you go to trial?
I went to trial, Your Honor.
Oh, you did, and you were found guilty?
Of not properly seatbelting.
So you were found guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you were found guilty, Miss Wilson, you were found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, which means that you can't now bring this lawsuit against her for complaining about things, some of which you were found guilty of. And if your complaint, Miss Wilson, is that the defendant told people about it, she could do that.
Your Honor, I didn't leave her kids in the car by themselves and was shopping at no Walmart.
So you didn't go to Walmart, so you went to the cleaners and you went to get your vanilla wafers. What difference does it make?
I went in and out of those places, Your
Doesn't
Honor.
make any difference. Do you know how long it takes a child, a 4-year-old, to put a car in gear, even if there are no keys in the car? We haven't even gotten to the fact whether the keys were in or out of the car. But let's say you were smart enough to take the keys with you, which I'm not so sure about. And one of the children, one of the toddlers, got there and moved the gear shift so that the car was placed in drive and started to roll with 5 children in the car.
Your Honor, it was just that I volunteered to work 2 hours overtime for her, and it was my off hours. I was planning. I didn't need the jeans. I didn't need the jeans, Your Honor. I just needed the bread and the vanilla wafers, and I could have done that if I wouldn't have worked overtime.
Just a second. Then you say I can't work overtime. You don't shake the job to work overtime, Miss Wilson, and then do the wrong thing. Yes. You didn't need the jeans, and you do without the vanilla wafers if you agreed to work 2 hours overtime. You were going to get paid for 2 hours overtime, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Miss Wilson, you don't have a case. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Come on. She slandered and lied about everything in a police report. Junction City is so small, it's like air freshener. You spray a little bit, it's all over, with a matter of seconds.
She's mad because she lost her contract and she can't get no more money for not doing the job that she was supposed to be doing. She was doing the job wrong.
And now the next case.
All parties on Hayes versus Macy. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Michael Hayes is suing former live-in girlfriend, 18-year-old telemarketer Dina Massey, for the return of belongings bought with an insurance settlement.
There was a time when you were living together, when your house burned down. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long had you been living in that house?
We've been living there for about, I say, 8 or 9 months.
After the house burned down, you got an insurance settlement check.
Mm-hmm.
And how much was that for?
$5,700.
It was $5,400.
Oh, $5,400. Some of that money was spent on furnishing a new place, right? And some of the money was spent for a car that you have. So is it a fair statement that all of the money that was used to purchase the new furniture for the new house came from this insurance money?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
No. My daughter's bedroom, somebody from school donated it. My bathroom, I paid for out of my my income tax return, which I have right here.
I didn't say all the furniture in the whole place was purchased from this money, but the money that was used to purchase the new furniture that you still have came from this pot of $5,400.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
He wants to be reimbursed for that because he says that the renter's insurance was in his name. Is that right?
That's correct.
You say that he got the car.
Right.
And that also was paid for out of this $5,400, so that you're even.
Right.
Okay, so I have a few questions.
Okay. The check was for $5,400, if that's what she said. I think it was $57. The car that I brought was only $1,000.
No.
Yeah, her daughter's bedroom.
No.
Just a second.
Yes, her daughter's bed was donated to us by the school, but the rest of the house I had brought and paid for with the insurance
Okay, so I have some
money.
questions. Why don't you let me ask my questions?
Okay.
How were you paying all of your bills? Were you putting this into a joint checking account and paying your bills from a joint checking account when you were living together, or were you each taking care of certain bills?
Well, she's like a control freak. So when I had my checks, I just, like gave her the money. You could pay, I didn't give her the money, but I told her, being that she had that checking account, well, we both had a joint account, you just go ahead, pay the light and the gas, pay all the bills, and I just give her the money just to keep her mouth closed.
All right. So if that's true, what you're telling me is she put her money in to pay some bills, and you put your money in to pay some bills.
No, my half of the money went to the bills that was in my name, like the light, the gas, and the rent to the house. And her half of the money went to things that was in her name, like the phone, cable, and whatever else.
The rent is in her bill, the rent, the phone, where you rent your furniture from.
Oh, you were renting for Rent-A-Center.
Well, how was you paying for it and you don't have a job?
Don't speak.
I was paying for that through the welfare
Don't speak to each other. Now, when you took out this renter's insurance, who did you take it out from?
United Insurance Company.
Okay,
and
can I see that policy, please?
I don't have the policy with me. I wasn't able to get that. I had insurance for the things that was mine. She didn't have insurance for what was hers. So when the house had burnt down, her things in the house was left in the fire.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She wanted the car in her name and her mom's name because she said she didn't feel like she had enough security. The house was in my name and the furniture and everything was in my name.
Because he tries to pull stuff like this.
No.
That's why.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Hayes says former live-in girlfriend Dina Massey owes him for half the value of their belongings.
Let me see what you purchased with that check.
I have receipts for like the big items, for like the furniture and the bedroom suite, but all like the miscellaneous items, the receipts is in the house with her, but I do have some receipts.
Let me see.
And I would just like to say, he said he spent $1,400 on his car. No, I have a check right here. It says $2,100
No,
for
actually,
his car.
I have a receipt saying I paid $1,000 for my car. Here you go.
$2,100 out cash for the car. He spent it on, you know, for stuff inside the car.
Let me see her check.
And I have all the checks too.
Let me see. Check. You have a check here for $2,100 that's made out to cash, that's signed by him.
And it says car in a memo.
Just a second. That you endorsed.
What do you mean? I endorsed it.
You endorsed it. It was made out to cash, and you got the money. Take a look at the back of the check.
I didn't get the money for that.
It's not made out to a car dealership.
What we did was we rode to the bank. We wrote a check for $2,100 in cash. He put the memo. It says car. He took $2,100 out for the car. Okay.
No.
Why did he? Just a second, madam. Why did you sign the back of the check?
Let me see, because I don't know. I know we got $2,100 out for the car. But he signed the front of it.
I know he signed the front of it. It's a check made out to cash. You cashed the check.
Yeah, I cashed the check.
You cashed the check.
But I gave him the money. We went and we drove and we looked around for cars. It was supposed to be our car. It wasn't just his car.
No, it was my car.
No, it wasn't just your car.
She was going on this trip, like she was like a power trip or something. I don't know what was wrong with her. She wanted the car in her name and her mom's name because she said she didn't feel like she had enough seniority, or, you know, she wanted some seniority, so she wanted my car in her name because the house was in my name and the furniture and everything was in my name.
Because he tries to pull stuff like this.
No.
That's why.
Let's say you paid $2,000 for the car, okay?
But
let's say you got $5,400. What Miss Massey is saying is, since each of you was contributing money to the house, she should have some benefit from this insurance money as well.
But we both lived there and we both was on a lease. I had renter, I mean, we had a nice house. I had renter's insurance for the things that was matched. She could have did the same thing.
Show me the policy.
I wasn't able to get it, but I had the checks.
On some
You're absolutely right, Miss Massey.
House.
You're absolutely
and
right.
Okay, and the whole house was mine.
The whole house is not yours.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Was the furniture that burned down rental furniture?
Yes, it was rental furniture.
Who paid the rental company?
I did.
There must have been a balance due for their furniture.
He didn't.
Ben's that the couch and a love seat that we had from Rent Center was still there. They was able to come in and take their stuff, so we wouldn't have to, you know, I wasn't liable for it no more.
What do you mean? You mean everything burned down except their furniture?
Everything didn't burn down, just the couch and the chair burnt down. Everything else was smoke damage.
So are you telling me nobody paid Rent a Center for their
furniture?
Yeah,
they came and they got it. They got it back. They took it back.
They took it back. I guess they were going to fix it or whatever. I don't know what they was going to do to it.
You want me to believe they came and took back this
did.
couch?
They
And they
did.
didn't say to you, you have insurance, you have to pay us?
No, they came and took it, Ben's that, I don't know, the couch had caught a fire, and they said if it was still, I don't know, they just came and took it back.
I don't know either. I don't know either. You have the car?
Yes, I do.
You have the car? You got the furniture?
Right.
Goodbye.
All right, excuse you may step out.
Old Pamela Potts is suing her nephew, 31-year-old Narvel Fields, for a mortgage. Narvel is suing for harassment.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 153 on the calendar in the matter of Potts versus Fields. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
All right. Miss Potts, the defendant is your nephew. That's about all I'm sure of when I looked at these papers. And you live in one of his houses.
Yes.
Other than that, I can't figure out why you believe he owes you money. So why don't you explain this business deal that you had with him?
Okay, at the time, I didn't consider it a business deal. The money came in much later. Everybody in the family knew Narvel had a house in Victorville. He needed someone to move in the house because he couldn't afford 2 mortgages. He had just purchased another home. So he asked us if we could move in his house.
When?
We moved about the middle of April.
What year?
Last year, in '99.
Okay, so you moved into the house that you thought belonged to him. Go.
We thought belonged to him, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. After we moved in the house, we took our time because we wasn't pressured to move out of our home. We had filed a Chapter 7. So we wasn't really pressured. We had it up for sale. We moved into the home in Victorville. As we got comfortable, my husband was paying Narvell $1,000 a month. I would ask my husband, get a receipt, get a receipt. But he was comfortable. That's his sister's son. Oh, that's my nephew. You know, that's my nephew. I had a conversation with one of Narvell's girlfriends over the phone who told me that the house that we had moved in under the influence that it was Narvell's wasn't Narvell's house. It was his sister's house who had deceased the following year, the year before we moved into the house. I don't realize we done moved in a house that's not Narvell. He had told us during those months that we can have the house. He didn't want it, you know, to just take over the mortgage. And later on, he would quick deed the house over to me or whatever. My husband confronted Norvell about the conversation that I had with his girlfriend, that the house was in foreclosure. And so Narvell denied the house being in foreclosure. As time went on, my husband said, well, I'm going to start paying the mortgage direct to the mortgage company and stop giving it to you. Well, then Narvell came up to me. He says he was in some trouble. We found out he was in trouble with the law. He had another house prior to the house that we were living in. He needed to get out of his name. He said, Auntie, I have some property I need to get out of my name because I'm in trouble with the law and I need to get this property out of my name or they're going to take it. So he said, well, can you buy the house from me and get a loan on the house because I need the money for a lawyer. He said, and after I get all that straightened out, we'll do the paperwork for the house you're living in. I didn't want the house that he wanted in my name. I wanted the house that I was living in with my family. I have 3 daughters, and I don't like moving. It's very hard. So,
did you buy the house from him?
Yes, I did.
So that house that you don't want is now in your name?
Right. I only did it to help him.
Just a second. And you gave that money
yes, ma'am.
to him?
Yes, ma'am.
But now you own that house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
So when December came, I have a copy of that check that I directed deposit straight to Narvell's account. I deposited that whole check in Narvell's account.
And in exchange for that, you got a house?
Yes, ma'am.
So, go ahead.
Okay. So I started telling Narvell, when you going to put this house in my name? Because I still kind of gave him control of the property that he put in my name. I didn't really take control of it. because he had a tenant living in the house.
What difference does it make? It's in your name.
Yeah. I got a second loan on that house once it was in my name.
What money do you think he owes you?
He owes me $14,957.
So why are you suing him for $5,000?
Because I had to bring him to a small claims court.
Why?
I'd rather get the 5 than get nothing.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, it is, ma'am.
No, that's ridiculous.
I'd rather get $5,000. I'm not going to give my money out of him anyway because he's finna go to jail next month.
Yeah, well, why did you enter into this deal with him
I found all this out later.
Why did you enter into this deal with him at the beginning? If you knew he had to get a house out of his name, that he was in trouble, and you thought you were going to get not only that house, but the house you were living in for just paying rent, I don't understand that.
No, I never had any intentions on the first house. I only was interested in the house that I was living in.
Then you made a very bad deal. All right, Mr.
Yes,
Fields.
I did.
You want to explain this deal to me? If you can. I still don't understand her deal.
I don't understand it either. But basically what's going on is they're very upset because I'm a victim of my home. And ever since then, you know, I got a tape with her calling my house, leaving me terrible messages and things like that, cussing me out.
Mr. Fields, did you sell them another house?
Yes, I sold them a house.
For how much money?
$93,000.
That was the sale price?
No, it was $100,000. Sale price was $100,000. They loan now is $93,000.
And they put down $7,000.
Well, they didn't put up anything. I covered everything.
Explain that to me, sir.
They didn't come up with no money. Out of the equity I had in the home, I covered the down payment for the home.
Did your aunt give you $14,000?
She did deposit a check in my account for $14,000, yes.
What's that for?
Well, she took a second out to give me the money.
For what?
For the home. Because they didn't come up with any other money for the home.
Okay. How much is this house worth?
Right now, I have no idea because it's burnt down.
Did you have insurance on it?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Good.
Insurance fully covered it.
How much was the insurance policy on the house?
$93,000.
And the contents?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
What do you mean?
My
You're not-
sister.
Your sister knows how much
my
was the
sister
contents
knows,
of the
ma'am.
house?
The personal property inside the house was valued at $23,000, but the insurance is only going to pay $16,000.
16 plus 93. Is that right?
Right.
So, $109,000. Now, how much of a mortgage do you have on this house?
$903.
No.
Will somebody come up here who knows numbers, who understands this, please? Somebody come up here, fast! I'm getting irritated, this whole nonsense.
She owes $93,000.
She owes $93,000. So she is ending up with $16,000 in cash in her hand, right?
Actually, no. She'll get less than that because Norvell sent some kind of claims adjuster to Pam. She signed an agreement for him to get 10% of the total amount
Who
of
cares?
recovery he makes.
All right, so, had the house burned down?
I have it.
How did the house burn down?
One of the lady's children threw a burnt towel or something in a trash can.
Norvell has been contacting the insurance agency alleging that Pamela is committing insurance fraud. So the
Whether
house
he
is
is?
not being restarted or nothing is happening. Everything is
Let
stopped.
me explain something to you. I don't care. It sounds to me like you were all in a little conspiracy here. Everybody was in a little conspiracy to try to defraud somebody. I don't know whether it was each other, the federal government, the state government, the insurance company, but I certainly, in the brief period of time that I have to deal with this case, I'm not going to be able to figure it out. All I know is a house that stood for a very long time all of a sudden burned down and somebody's going to come away with some money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What are you scheduled to be incarcerated for, sir?
Income tax checks fraud.
And you took the checks?
No, they took it. We split the money.
And later today,
Well, we didn't get along very well. But at the end of the trip, I asked him for my money, and he told me to go to hell.
It's difficult enough traveling with your mate. Traveling with a stranger is cuckoo.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Pamela Potts says she was scammed by her nephew, Narvell Fields, when he sold her his home.
You know, when you get involved in trying to do something to cover up and to try to evade the law, somebody always gets burned. That means he was probably trying to do a scam, but so were you. Courts don't help people when they're trying to scam somebody else and saying, well, we were trying to put over a scam, but I got burned, so please help me out. I don't deal with that. Now, you have a counterclaim for harassment.
Yes. No, I can let you hear it right here.
I
on
don't want to
tape.
hear it.
Oh, okay.
What are you scheduled to be incarcerated for, sir?
For fraud.
For fraud?
Well, not really for fraud. For tax fraud. Taxing.
Tax fraud.
Right.
Is this the first time you were incarcerated?
Yes.
How long are you going to go away for?
21 months.
Well, what kind of fraud were you convicted of?
Tax fraud.
I understand that. Be
Check
specific.
frauds.
What do you mean check frauds? Explain.
Income tax check fraud.
Explain that to me.
Filing checks for people with Social Security number and get them a check back.
For dead people?
No, live people.
And you took the checks?
No, they took it. We split the money.
I have a feeling, sir, that you weren't terribly harassed. You understand?
No, I don't.
You don't look scared to me, is what I'm trying to say to you, sir. And if you're going to be in jail for 21 months, you don't have to worry she's not going to hurt you.
No, I'm not worried about that.
Good, perfect. Then your counterclaim for harassment is dismissed, and you, Miss Potts, you go collect your insurance money. That's all. Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm kind of satisfied in a way because, like Judge Judy said, I still have a house that I really didn't want, and his countersuit was thrown out.
Oh, it was cool. I came here and got what I wanted. You know what I'm saying? She's a big liar. She got what she deserved. Nothing.
Don't do business with family.
And now the next case.
All parties on Lombardo versus Segarra. Step forward, please.
48-year-old male clerk Michael Lynn Lombardo is suing former friend, 44-year-old hairstylist Eli Segarra, for his share of a rental car during a vacation in Italy.
Briefly, this lawsuit is about 1/2 of a rental car, which is $139.
Yes, Your Honor.
That you claim Mr. Segarra owes you for a car that was rented by you on your credit card. While you were on a trip to Europe with Mr. Segarra, you traveled as friends. And the agreement when you traveled as friends was that you were going to split everything right down the middle. When you returned from the trip, Mr. Segarra did not reimburse you for the $139, and that's what you're suing him for.
Yes.
Mr. Segarra has some sort of a nonsense counterclaim, Mr. Segarra, because you claim that while you were on this trip with her, you sort of acted as the chauffeur and carried her luggage and stuff, and you want to be compensated for the exact same amount, $139. Is that what your counterclaim is?
Correct.
So what prompted you to travel together?
Mr. Segarra used to cut my hair. Okay. One day I was getting my hair cut. He said that he was going to Italy, and I said, oh, that would be my dream. And he asked me to go with him. I told him I could probably never afford it. He said that the airlines was having a special and we could get a round-trip ticket for $400. And once we got there, we would stay in youth hostels and we would split everything down the middle and it wouldn't be that expensive.
So far correct?
No. Well, first of all, I didn't invite her. She invited herself. When she heard me talking about my trip, she says that, and she makes me believe that she have never been out of a country anywhere, so far Pennsylvania. And I felt at that point that I didn't know what to say. So I figured out that I have
You agreed. You agreed to go and agreed to split everything down the middle. So it's pretty much correct.
Pretty much correct.
All right. Now, tell me about the rental car.
Okay. He called me up one day and he told me that he had put a rental car, he had reserved a rental car on his credit card. He told me that the cost of the rental car would be $242. We would pick it up in Milan and bring it to Rome at the airport. He told me that usually when he traveled, he took a train to go place to place, but since there was two of us, a rental car would be affordable. I said, okay. He told me he had rented a stick shift. I told him I couldn't drive a stick shift. He said, oh, you don't have to worry about that. I can drive a stick shift and I don't mind driving. Then he said, I put the reservation on my credit card, but I'm consolidating my bills and I don't want to put anything on my card. Could you please call Hertz Rental and put it on your card? So I'm thinking, okay, this is my friend.
Okay, so you did.
So I did it. Well, we didn't get along very well, but at the end of the trip, I asked him for my money and he told me to go to hell.
Okay, Mr. Segarra, let's hear your version of the events, sir.
Well, first of all, I did not even invite her. She invited herself.
Okay, invite. We're down to car. Let's hear about the car.
Never. I told her that I was going to go to Italy, and I don't rent a car when I go to Europe because of the European traveling by train or rail is much easier and much better. That was my first reservation in all my plans. Never had a plan on renting a car. When I called her 2 days later to find out and to explain to her how I travel and to travel cheap, I explained to her all the walking. I explained to her all the places that I say international hosteling for over one night over sleep and continue. She told me that she had a bad leg. Now, what bad leg? I don't know anything about. And I asked, what's wrong with the leg?
Excuse me.
Come on.
What's wrong with her leg? She said, well, you know about my leg. I said, I don't know anything about your leg. So eventually, I said, but let me go home and I call and find out about the car rentals. She says, if I go, I need a car. That was what she said.
Just a second. Hold on. So you went home and found out about car rentals. That's what you just said to me, Mr. Segarra.
Yeah, I went and I found out because she said that she needed a car. So I went to find out how much it would cost a car because I never rent a car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, you could have stayed at the youth hostel. You could have said to go to wherever you want to go.
She did not want to.
It's a free country wherever you went.
If we get together, we would have to stay together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Lynn Lombardo says her former friend, Eli Segarra, refuses to pay half of their rental car in Italy. Eli says Michael Lynn ruined his trip.
Okay, so you found out about the car.
Well, at that point, the guy says that the rate that he found, it was so cheap and so easier that he needed a number for a credit card to hold with on the no guarantee.
So that's correct. So you did, in fact, reserve the car initially on your credit card?
On my credit card, yeah.
Okay.
I called her and I let her know about what I had
done. The car. And did you tell her that you didn't want to keep it on your credit card because you were consolidating some bills?
No, exactly. I used my credit card just to hold the car, but not because I wanted to have the car.
Well,
I mean, in the credit card. I told her I'm going to use my credit card because I was consolidating, and my plan was not renting a car. My original plan.
Ah, okay. Did you drive the car?
I drove the car.
Okay. Was it a stick shift car?
Correct.
Did she tell you that she couldn't drive a stick shift car?
She did say that.
Now, I assume that you did not have a really fun time when you were there, Mr. Segarra. Is that right?
No.
Now, tell me about your counterclaim, sir.
When we went into the youth hosteling or international hosteling for a lodging, there was, in certain circumstances, there was non-room available for a female. And this international hosteling separates males and females.
So?
So there was not available for the ladies. So I came and I told her, I says, there's nothing for ladies, there's for males. So I would stay in the room, and then I'll take her into the local hotel if she had the money to pay for the hotel or whatever, because it was nothing for a female. So then she says that that if we would have to be together, we should have to get the room in the hotel together, and I thought that was a lot more money that was not in my budget, Your Honor.
So is what you're telling me, sir, you didn't stay in a youth hostel a couple of times because they wouldn't allow women, so you went to a hotel?
Exactly.
Is that your counterclaim?
That's my counterclaim for the expenses of the extra hotels and
Did you stay at the other hotels?
Yes, I did.
Well, you could have stayed at the youth hostel.
Exactly.
You could have stayed there, but you didn't. You could have said to go to wherever you want to go.
She did not want to.
It's a free country wherever you went.
If we get together, we would have to stay together.
Mr. Segarra, your counterclaim was ridiculous when I read it the first time. It's even more ridiculous now. She never agreed to reimburse you for the difference between the hostel and the hotel, right?
No.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to tell you something. I don't understand how people who really don't know each other decide to travel together. It's difficult enough traveling with your mate. It's difficult enough traveling with your mate and children. It's difficult enough traveling with just your children.
It's difficult enough saying it.
I agree. It's difficult just saying it. Is absolutely right. Traveling with a stranger whose hair you do for a while, is cuckoo. In any event, you had an agreement that you would split the expenses. I find that you did, in fact, make outreach for the car. You did, in fact, initially put the car on your credit card. Seems to me that there was an implied promise that you would pay one half of the car rental, which is $139, judgment for the plaintiff.
Suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old Krista Kwalzik, for the cost of a trip to Cancun, the return of an engagement ring, and the return of a dog.
Ah, Mr. Haidt, you and the defendant dated, according to you, contemplating marriage. You at some point gave her a ring that you say is an engagement ring. You want that back. Things didn't work out. You also claimed that after an argument, because the two of you were living together, the defendant left and took a dog that you had, at least in part, contributed to purchasing. You want that money back, and you want the cost of a non-refundable airplane ticket that you put on your credit card, her non-refundable ticket for a trip that the two of you were supposed to take. The defendant says the ring was a gift, the dog is hers, and she paid for the last trip that you took together, so this trip, well, you're going to have to pay for that because she paid for the last one. All right, let's take care of the ring first. That's the easiest. Can I see it, please? Well, that certainly looks like an engagement ring to me. You know, that comes under the old category, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. You know?
Yes.
When did you purchase the ring, sir?
Actually, I purchased the ring in 2004, Your Honor.
For her?
No, Your Honor. I didn't know her back in 2004.
You mean just in case you met somebody?
No, I was in a relationship before, but I never gave that ring to another girl. I just had it, and I couldn't return it back then. So it never was on another girl's finger. But I did have it, Your Honor.
Okay. By the way, did you ever tell her that you've had this ring since 2004?
I didn't mention that, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay. Me and the defendant, we broke up January 8th. And when she took possession of that ring was February 6th. She invited me, because we had that dog together. It was her dog. His name's Monty. So she invited me to go and see how the dog was progressing, see how big he got. It was a dog school. So it was a dog school behind a pet store. So I went. And during our relationship, Krista was always like, if you ask me to marry you, the answer is yes. She would get mad when I said I would want to wait at least a year. So there was no, like, big surprise, like she would say no if I asked her to marry her or anything.
Okay, so you went to the dog school.
Okay. We went
with Monty.
And she didn't believe that I had an engagement ring. So I just brought it with me to show her. So I showed her.
So you were trying to get back together again?
I did care about her, but I did not propose to her in the back of a pet store at a dog school. I was just showing her the ring like I had it, and I really cared about you, and take a look, you know? She put it on her finger.
Take a look. This is how much I care.
Take a look. So she put it on her finger. She loved it. It's gorgeous. I said, it's not a good idea. I'm not giving you, it's not a gift. There's no way I'm giving you a $5,200 ring.
You didn't even clean it.
I never wore it.
You didn't even clean it. It's dirty.
It's got clear evidence that it's been worn before. There are deep scratches into it as if it had been worn.
It was never worn, Your Honor.
I never once...
Well, she did put it on because she put it on her finger that day and got in her car.
Doesn't make any difference. Go ahead. So you let her try it on.
I let her try it on, and I asked for it back. She was like, no, can I hold on to it? Her thing was, can I hold on to it? All right, that was on February 6th. On the 9th, I ended up still going on that Cancun trip with one of my friends.
So you went?
I went. Cause
with your friend?
With my friend, right.
Okay, so we've taken care of the plane ticket.
Though the plane ticket, that's not transferable.
You still have that plane?
She could have it. It's hers. It's $368 that I'm asking for, and she can have the credit, you know.
Who paid for the last trip you took?
She did, Your Honor.
$2,400.
That sounds like even Stephen.
I paid for a lot of other gifts. Or most of our relationship, like...
Listen, let me ask you a question. You have absolutely no use for this ring.
It was a gift.
First of all, it's an engagement ring.
He never proposed to me, Your Honor.
I know he didn't. I also don't believe that he ever gave it to you. I believe him. I believe him. And if I didn't believe him, I would still tell you, you have to give it back to him. Men don't like to give somebody something that's very expensive, like an engagement ring, and then, for whatever reason, I understand you moved out.
Which my mother helped me. My mother.
Your mother came over to the house, according to him. Next thing you knew, you were gone. Give him back his ring, please, Bird. All right, the ring is yours. The trip you took with your friend, I hope you enjoyed. You pay for it. Let's get to the dog. And then I will leave you both in peace, and hopefully you can say, we've had enough. It's over. Move on. Now, when did you purchase Monty?
December 22nd, Your Honor.
And you were together at the time?
We were boyfriend-girlfriend, yes, Your Honor.
You were living together?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you put in $900 according to the papers for the dog?
According to him, but I did pay $1,200 cash for the dog. I have
And
the
how
receipt.
much did Mr. Height put in to the dog?
He says...
Don't tell me what he says.
Nothing.
Nothing? He says he put in $300. Is that what you put in?
Your Honor, I did.
I'd like to see the bill of sale for the dog.
This is down in Willington, Connecticut, is where we purchased the dog. This is from an ATM machine showing
I'd
in
like
Willington,
to see it, please.
Connecticut. I took out $300 on the 22nd. And she paid with a check $900 and my $300 in cash.
I paid cash, $1,200.
Show me where you took it out of a bank, the $1,200.
Your Honor, I'm a bartender, and all of my tips are in cash. So if he put in the $300 like he said,
There's no question he put in
he should have signed the bill of sale.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. There's no question he put in $300. That doesn't necessarily mean it's his dog. What else did you buy for Christmas?
The dog was not a Christmas present.
I'm just asking you.
Oh,
I'm asking you what you bought her for Christmas.
Oh, what I bought her for Christmas? Tickets to a Broadway show in New York in a hotel room.
Didn't you go with her?
No.
You mean she was going to go alone to the hotel, and she was going to go alone to the Broadway show?
Well, we broke up. The show was in February, Your Honor.
Listen to me. When you got tickets to the Broadway show, I assume you got 2 tickets.
Yes, Your Honor.
For the 2 of you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the plan was for the 2 of you to go to a hotel?
Yes, Your Honor.
What else did you get for her?
The cage for the dog was like $170 I bought her. What else did I get her for Christmas? That's a good question. Oh, I got her tickets for 6 Flags. I bought her a coat, like, I don't know, like $150 coat.
What'd she buy you?
Well, actually, she bought me Chris Rock tickets down at Mohegan Sun, which she took. She never gave to me. What else did she give me? I can't really remember. She didn't give me as nearly...
Who went to the Broadway show?
I didn't go. I don't know if she went.
Did you go? No? Okay, listen. Forget the dog. You got your ring back?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you a happy person?
Yes, but I would
Perfect. Be happy. Be happy. It's over. You got your ring back. You've held on to the ring 4 years.
Yeah, yes, Your Honor.
Maybe it's not good luck.
No.
Did you ever think of that? It's over. Finished. Thank you. Goodbye.
21-year-old child care provider Amy Helscher is suing former client, 20-year-old Heather McGlenn, for breaking their contract. Heather says Amy is a negligent caregiver.
Miss Helscher, how old are you?
21.
You run a daycare center?
Yes, ma'am.
For how many children?
I'm licensed for 10 with 2 children under the age of 2.
Who works in your daycare center?
Just myself.
And 10 children?
I don't have 10. Right now, I currently watch 5 with my 2 children.
7 children. How old are they?
2 3-year-olds, and a 9-month-old, a 4-month-old, and then my 2 children.
And how old are your 2 children?
19 months and 4 months.
And who is this?
My husband.
It is your complaint that Miss McGlenn, who had a child in your daycare, took her child out of daycare without giving you 2 weeks' notice.
Right.
She has what appears to me to be a very good reason why she wouldn't give you 2 weeks' notice. In addition to the 2 weeks' notice, you claim that her child called your daycare.
Yes.
And you want her to pay the damage to the daycare. You also want her to pay late fees for not giving you the 2 weeks' notice. I'm absolutely amazed that you're here. Because according to what I read, Miss Holscher?
Yes.
Her baby, who's how old?
2 years old.
2 years old. The property that the baby damaged was some sort of a disc?
A computer disc.
That the baby put in a paper shredder.
Yes.
A paper shredder that was exposed so that the 2-year-old could get it while nobody was watching him. Okay, why don't you tell me how a 2-year-old can come in contact with a paper shredder that would shred a heavy piece of plastic?
It got stuck in the paper shredder. The computer disc was on top of the computer that's in my living room where they watch cartoons while I cook lunch, so I have them all under control.
You don't have them all under control. You don't have 7 children under control all by yourself. What state do you live in?
Missouri.
Anybody out there in Missouri? A 21-year-old lady doesn't watch 7 children, and possibly 12. There is something wrong in the state of Missouri. Don't you realize that her child could have lost a hand?
Fingers do not fit in the paper shredder. We have tried. Nothing fits in it.
How have you tried?
Nothing fits in it. There's a slot that's like a centimeter thick. It's not even wide at all. And the CD could not have came out because my husband had to use tools to get it out of the paper shredder.
You are responsible for anything that happens in your house.
Yes, ma'am.
While you are in control of these children, not their parents. You take on the responsibility of these children while you are watching them, while they are in your care for money. The idea that you would sue her for the $15 disc that her 2-year-old destroyed while you were in the kitchen not supervising adequately these 7 children is outrageous. Don't you get that? Do you understand that?
Yes.
What would prompt you to sue her for that disc when it is totally your responsibility that this child destroyed property and could have hurt himself? And I guarantee you, they're very inventive, these little children. Places where you never think they're going to be able to fit a finger, they fit a finger. You know, children lose fingers and hands on escalators. You figure, how do they do that? They do it. They're uncanny. That's why you don't take on the responsibility of 7 children. Because if you're in the kitchen cooking, somebody has to be in the living room watching the 7 children. I'm also amazed at you, Miss McGlenn, for leaving your baby there for another 4 weeks after this incident happened. You want to explain why to me?
Well, the first incident was the paper shredder. And at that point, I had opened up my eyes and I was paying more attention to what was going on because I'm a single mother. You know, I'm a working mother and I didn't have anyone else to care for my child. I was trying to find another situation for my son that I felt he was safe in.
How did you arrange to modify your schedule?
I got a different job. I started working a different shift and I didn't need a babysitter.
Who takes care of him?
My boyfriend.
Boyfriend. How long has this been a boyfriend?
About 1.5 years.
Not the baby's father?
No.
Not happy about that? Just, you the mother?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not crazy about boyfriends watching babies.
Well, it was while he was sleepy.
I don't care if he was out at the prom. I'm not crazy about boyfriends watching babies.
I understand.
Lots of bad things have happened. Your boyfriend may be a really nice guy. I don't know. But you thought that this situation was okay too, right?
No.
When you put your baby there, you thought it was okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Turned out not to be okay. You got lucky once. Sometimes it doesn't happen. In any event, while I'm at it, since this is not the first 2 weeks notice case that I got from daycare centers, I'm going to tell you that this is one area, if I were a state government, I would not permit the 2 weeks notice requirement to be put in any daycare situation for the following reason. I'm just throwing this out for general information because I have an extra 30 seconds. Once I removed a child from daycare for cause, I wouldn't want to say, Well, I'm going to leave him in here for another 2 weeks because that's what the contract says, that I have to leave him here for another 2 weeks and then worry that he's going to be either neglected or abused or somebody's not going to watch carefully enough because he's a child that's on its way out. I think that if you're moving and you give plenty of notice and say, listen, I'm moving, fine. But if there's cause for you removing your child from a daycare, I think that that 2-week requirement should be absolutely stricken from every daycare contract that's written, especially ones that are state subsidized. Ms. Holscher, you don't have a case. Goodbye.
Deborah Skalkos is suing 9-year-old Russell Bauscher Jr. and his mother, Christy, for damage to her car. Deborah says Russell dinged it with a shopping cart.
Ms. Skalkos, is that right?
Yes.
According to your complaint, this young man right here accidentally dented your car with a shopping cart.
Correct.
You believed he and his mother are responsible
Correct.
for the dent. Ms. Boucher says neither she nor her son are responsible for the dent on your car. So tell me where you were when this happened and when.
Okay. On the evening of April 20th, I was driving my car in a shopping area, and as I was getting ready to cross a speed bump, this little boy here, he yells, "Watch out," and a shopping cart came crashing into my car. And he says, "I'm sorry, ma'am, it slipped out of my hand." And there were cars behind me, and I wanted to pull into a parking stall to get out and look at my car. And I did, and there was a small dent in my car, and then I tried to find the little boy, and he was gone, and I didn't know what store he went into.
Okay, so you did not see him with the shopping cart in his hand?
I saw him pulling out the shopping carts, and it came crashing into my car.
Madam, I want to know exactly what it is that you saw. Don't make anything up.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
I read your complaint, and what you just testified to is different from your complaint. What you just testified to was you saw the little boy.
Yes, I did.
And you saw the cart hit your car.
Correct.
But you never saw his hand on the cart.
Correct.
And he said to you, "I'm sorry, it slipped out of my hand."
Correct.
Is that what you saw?
That's what happened, yes.
Is that what you saw, is my
Yes.
question. So you didn't see him trying to pull the cart out of the long row of carts, and it
Correct.
slipped out of his hand, right?
Right.
All right, because that's what you wrote in your complaint. So that was a mistake. You were mistaken about that.
Yes.
Should not be mistaken about that, because you signed it and you read it. You say, "I noticed a young boy standing on the sidewalk and pulling a shopping cart out of the cart holder." And my question to you is, you didn't see that.
I didn't see him pull the cart out.
All you saw was him standing there,
Yes.
the cart coming towards you,
Correct.
and the cart hitting your car.
Correct.
And then he yelled, "Watch out."
Yes, he did.
And then, according to you, he said, "I'm so sorry, ma'am."
Yes, he did.
He didn't say, "I'm sorry, it slipped out of my hand." That's not what you said in your complaint.
But that is what he said. He said it slipped out of my hand.
Okay. Tell me your name.
Russell Voucher,
Russell, how old are you?
9.
Have you ever watched this program?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How many times have you watched it?
A couple of times.
And I think that your mom is very proud and very supportive of you, right?
Yes.
And I think you're a nice boy.
Thank
So you're going to tell me the truth today about what happened that day, even if it was a little different from what you told your mother. Got it?
Yes.
Because otherwise, bad things are going to happen here.
Okay.
Got it? Okay. Now, your mom went in shopping,
Yes.
and at some point she told you that she needed another cart.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I went out to get another cart, and when I went out the exit, there was one right next to the exit on the left-hand side. So then I was grabbing the cart, and then I saw it going. I ran after it, and I yelled,
Now you
"Watch
grabbed
out."
the cart. Stop right there.
Okay.
You grabbed the cart.
Mm-hmm.
How did you grab it? Show me with
this.
So you grabbed it and you touched the handlebars?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you tried to wheel it around?
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then when I saw the shopping cart going,
So it slipped out of your hand?
because there was 2 carts. I was grabbing one out of the cart stack, and then there was one on the side of the exit. I was grabbing the one out of the cart stack. I didn't grab it completely. It was halfway out, but it wasn't that one that went. It was the one next to the exit that went.
Okay,
And I
but you
ran
touched
after
it. Your car touched it. The one that you were pulling touched it.
Yes.
And then you went inside. When you went inside, did you tell your mother?
Yes.
What did you tell your mother?
That I saw a cart that was rolling down. I started running after it, and then I couldn't catch it. I said, "Watch out," and then that's all I told her.
But you didn't tell her about the fact that you were touching the cart with the other cart, and that's when it started to roll down.
No.
All right, she's going to love you anyway. Right, Mrs. Boucher?
Yes.
Not hard. You sent him outside to do a job that perhaps he wasn't equipped to do. I certainly have some trouble trying to get those carts out of those cart holders, too, when we go shopping. You pull one, and all of a sudden you get 30. You don't want 30, all you want is one. But I'm very glad you told the truth today. Okay?
Yes.
Good. Got it, Mrs. Boucher? It's a little different.
Right.
Not a major deal. Good for you.
Thank you.
Told the truth today? If you had told your mother the truth right then and there, we might have avoided this whole problem. So you have to remember that for the future, okay?
Yes.
How much is the cost to fix your car?
$601.
Wow, let me see. What kind of a car do you have?
I have a 2004 Toyota Highlander.
Let me see. You have pictures of the car?
Yes.
There's a ding in it.
Yes, that's it.
There are two dings.
The shopping cart, it dinged it.
Well, I'm going to give you some advice, okay? I also have a very nice car, and somebody last week dinged my brand new car, and we called the ding doctor. And for $150, the ding doctor comes to your house and pulls out the ding. Not 600, 150. And I am sure, where do you live?
In Rancho Cucamonga.
Oh, that's in California.
Yes.
Where every person has 9 cars. I guarantee you, you will find a ding doctor for $300 that will come and pull out these 2 dings in your car. Okay? Not 600. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all. Thank you.
John Allen claims former friend Karen Stevenson owes for a loan of $1,800.
Mr. Allen, it is your claim that the defendant borrowed some money from you. She's a former girlfriend of yours. Ms. Stevenson says that you're a con guy. She never borrowed any money from you. She doesn't know what you're talking about. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go.
Okay. Yes, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and we decided to part ways, and we remained friends. On about the middle of September, about a week before I actually loaned her the money, she called me in desperation, said Lisa had taken a checkbook that no longer existed, a checking account, wrote a check out for $1,800. She needed money, that the bank was pressing charges, and
she wrote out a bad check?
Yes, Lisa.
Is Lisa here?
No.
Where is she?
She lives in Florida.
Who does she live with in Florida?
Herself.
What does she do for a living?
She's a cashier.
Ever been arrested?
No.
Ever been charged with crime?
Lisa? No.
Lisa?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
So at the time, when she called me, she said, I need this money. If I don't pay this $1,800 back.
For Lisa?
For Lisa, they're going to arrest me because it was drawn on my bank account. So...
Oh, just a minute. Where do you live?
Salisbury, Maryland.
You live in Maryland, and somehow Lisa got hold of one of her old checkbooks.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa forged a check for $1,800.
Yes.
But there was no longer an account.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa cashed a check in Florida.
Somewhere, I don't know actually, when she said, but it was a check written on this account, and it bounced, so the bank was going to press charges, and if she didn't pay the money back, they were going to put her in jail.
Put who in jail?
Karen. It's not true.
She didn't write a bad check.
Well, that's what she told me, ma'am.
That sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
I mean, doesn't that sound ridiculous? How old are you?
I'm 40, be 42 in March, ma'am.
42. What do you do for a living?
I have a few businesses. I'm going back to school, getting my real estate degree, and
What kind of businesses do you have?
I have a business running a company. I started in 1990.
What does it make? What does it do?
Well, I buy and resell food as like a Cisco or a U.S. food service.
You do that now?
No, right now I am in the process of going back to school. The company
So now you don't do anything?
No, the company still exists. I'm collecting my accounts receivables and stuff like that. Yes, ma'am. I'm still in the process. I have real estate I'm selling. I do various different things.
Who do you live with?
I live with my brother right now. I'm in the process of selling my real estate.
You're in the process of doing an awful lot, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you in the process of going through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am.
Did you go through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Did you ever apply for a bankruptcy?
No,
Did you
ma'am.
ever consult with a lawyer about a bankruptcy?
Yes, I have.
When?
I consulted with my lawyer in September, August, September, October, just discussing...
September of 2006?
Yes, ma'am.
About the same time that she was asking for some money?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why would you consult with an attorney about a bankruptcy, sir?
I'd just gone through a divorce that, you know, the settlement of property had to be dispersed. I had loans with my company, just seeking my different options, you know, out there. It was discussed, but it was never gone through. I'm in the process of selling my assets to pay debts. That was my choice to do it that way. You know, I want to make sure all of my bills are paid. That's why I'm selling my home, other real estate. I have a $1.5 million piece of business real estate that I'm in the process of selling.
What's the mortgage on it?
$790,000.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in June of '04.
In whose name is it?
It's in my company's name.
Which is?
Paradise Produce Company Incorporated.
Who else is a partner in Paradise Produce?
Nobody.
Current on your mortgage payments?
Not at this time, no. They are in the process of being sold right now.
Is there a contract for the sale of the property?
Yes, there is a contract for the sale of the property. It's pending on other things, you know, that's going on in the community. So,
You got a lot going on in your life, Mr.
I'm a very active man.
You're got a lot going on.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so she asked you for this $1,800, and what did you do, sir? I just wanted to get a sense, because I have to figure out who's pulling my leg and who's not.
I wrote her this check out from one of my bank accounts. I have numerous bank accounts because I have personal things, business things, and all that. And I actually wrote it out to her name and put loan on the memo. I handed this check to her on September 26th, and she took it, and I said, you can go right down the road and cash this check at my bank.
Where did you give it to her?
I gave it to her in the shopping center parking lot. I met her in Del Mar, Delaware, on the Delaware side. So that night, she called me back. She says, well, I don't think I can cash this check. I've lost my license, and I don't have a current checking account. I said, well, you can go right to the bank and cash this. I said, I made it out to you, and there's money in the checking account. She said, no, I'd rather you go to the bank and cash a check. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I said, but I would need this other check back. So the next day, I went to Laurie. This is my witness, Laurie Collins. Can I bring her forward, Judge? Or?
Who are you?
I'm a friend of John's.
What kind of a friend?
Close family friend for over 30 years.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went by Laurie's house. I discussed it with Laurie. I said, Laurie, I'm going to probably loan some money. I have loaned some money. She wants me to take the check back and go to the bank and cash the check and give her the $1,800. And Laurie said, well, just make sure that you keep this check here, the first check, if she gives it back to you.
First check is of no value.
Right.
Unless I can test for fingerprints on it.
Right. And then the second check is, I wrote her name in the memo that I cashed this check. Here's
yeah, well, that's what you wrote.
And I went to the bank.
You cashed the check and wrote her name in the memo.
Right. So I told Laurie, I said, Laurie, I have loaned this lady some money. I said, as a friend, I just wanted somebody to know that I had loaned her the money.
Was she there when you gave her the money?
No, ma'am.
Good. Sit down.
And at the time I wrote the check out, I have bank accounts with different amount of figures in it. You know, right now, $25,000 on this. If I needed it, she claims that I needed the money for myself. I don't need it.
Just show me the account where you took out the $1,800.
Yes, right there.
Okay.
Your Honor, he states that the first check that he wrote me, he had $1,800 in that account. That's the check he first gave me. I subpoenaed his bank records. $1,800 was not in there. He had
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. He had $72.79 in that account.
Let me see. Can I see that check, please? Sir, you wrote her a check on 9/26 for $1,800. You didn't have $1,800 in that account.
Right.
On which you wrote this $1,800 check.
Right.
Well, why would you write her an $1,800 check and tell her to go?
Because I was going to make a deposit in the account. I moved money from different checking accounts. I have interest-bearing accounts with my business and everything like that. I move money when I need money to pay bills like in the business.
Yeah, but you didn't move any money here, sir. You didn't move any money here. 3 days later...
She gave me the check back because she said that she couldn't cash it.
I understand that.
Because she didn't have a license.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
That was not the same day, sir. You already testified. It was the next day that she called you and said, I don't have a driver's license, and therefore I can't cash this check.
Right.
Now, you had already told her to go and cash the check, which she could have done on 9/26.
That's right. That's right.
Okay? On 9/26, if she went to your bank
Yes, ma'am.
and deposited that check. They would not have cashed that check because there was no balance in
They
that
could have
account.
moved the money from my business account, which is with the same bank, to cover my overdraft.
There's no overdraft privilege in here.
I'm sorry, I did lend this lady some money.
Go ahead.
He also says he gave me the $1,800. I was leaving that day to go out of town for a wedding. I was running around getting my nails done, my hair done. He didn't give me $1,800.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, let's start out with the conversation that you had with him about Lisa.
There was no conversation about Lisa. He knows she was in town for maybe a week or two. She moved back to Florida. I don't have a checking account. I don't have any checks. I haven't had a checking account in 3 years.
So you never had a discussion with him about a loan?
No.
Never had a discussion with him about giving you any money?
No.
Why do you think he would make up this convoluted story?
Your Honor, his business account had been frozen because he owes so many people money. Okay? He couldn't even make payroll. John and I continued to talk. We were good friends. He wanted me to help him take the money out of his county bank and put in a safety deposit box, put in my name, and he wanted to put the cash in there so they couldn't touch that money. Then I told him I didn't want to be involved in that because they're going to want to know where this $21,000 is. I didn't want that in my name. I didn't want any part of that. He tried to get several people to do that, and I wouldn't do it.
So what you're saying is he tried to get several people to accept checks?
Yes.
From him?
Yes.
And squirrel away the money?
Yes.
In the event he decided to go through this with this bankruptcy?
Absolutely.
Keep going.
I mean, he says in one statement that I was supposed to pay him back in 2 weeks. John and I continue to be friends. He had a surprise birthday party for his brother. I was invited.
Don't tell me. Just tell me about the money.
There was.
When you told him that you didn't want to participate in this scheme,
yes,
what did he say to you?
That he had a couple other people that were thinking about taking the money and putting it in a safety deposit box, storing his personal property so it wouldn't be auctioned off, which it has been.
What personal property did he want to store with you?
Pool tables, big screen TV, four-wheeler, living room furniture, kitchen furniture, I mean, bedroom suits. He had a 2-story house fully furnished. All that stuff has been auctioned off.
They've been auctioned off by whom?
An auctioneer.
At whose?
I guess at his request. I really don't know. I know that his house was for sale.
Did you have an auction?
Yes, ma'am, I did. To pay my debts and everything. The pool table, big screen TV, all that stuff was auctioned off to pay debts that I incurred during the divorce. I am in process of selling 2 pieces of property, a business piece of property, all my assets to pay my debts. I am not filing for bankruptcy. I am
Well,
going to be
it's a little
paying.
more difficult now to file for bankruptcy,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, because what you're suggesting to me is if you own a piece of property that's worth $1.5 million and you have a $790,000 mortgage,
Yes, ma'am.
if you file for bankruptcy, you're not going to see any of that money.
Yes, ma'am.
So in order to see any of that money, if you pay off your creditors now, then you'll be able to maybe walk away with a couple of $100,000.
No, ma'am, I'm not going to walk away with anything. My assets are about $2.2 million. I owe about $2.1. So, time I pay auctioneers, you know, realtors, all that stuff.
So it doesn't pay for you. So you have assets of $2 million and you have debts of about the same. So you can't go into bankruptcy. That
Right.
doesn't mean you're bankrupt. It just means that you have to go to work. Business people, you have mortgages, you have attorneys, you have
Right.
all kinds of other things. And you're not unfamiliar with court.
Yes, ma'am.
So here you come to a court and you say, I made a loan to this lady. Put your hand down. I made a loan to this lady. I did not memorialize that loan in any way. This check is of no value.
Right.
Because she never endorsed it. I can take out my checkbook and write out a check to Petrie Hawkins Bird in the amount of $10,000 and say, I gave him this check.
Right.
He gave it back to me, and I gave him the 10 grand in cash. And this is some evidence that I gave him that money, right?
Right.
I didn't give you any money to that. No. So this is evidence of nothing.
Right.
The only evidence that it is, sir, is that she subpoenaed this bank account, which says at the time you allegedly wrote this check out to her, you didn't have sufficient money to cover the check in the bank.
Right.
Now, you did have another bank
Yes, ma'am.
where you could have written a check that would have cleared.
Right.
As a matter of fact, according to you, you did just that 3 days later. You didn't go to this bank where you could have moved money around. You went to this bank where you took out $1,800. all of this leaves me with a very uneasy feeling, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I have a very uneasy feeling, sir, the fact that you brought a witness that says that you told her all about this loan is of no value. So, Mr. Allen, it is possible, just possible, that you loaned her $1,800.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You understand my problem with your proof, sir?
I understand. I understand.
Are you sympathetic with me, sir?
Yes.
Good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
26-year-old Vanessa Gravenstein and 25-year-old Karina Irwin are suing their former friend, Brian Lewis, for embezzling money from an art collective.
Ms. Gravenstein, according to the complaint that I've read, you and the co-plaintiff met the defendant. You were interested in starting something called an art collective. And I assume what that means is a place where young people can show off their art. Is that right?
And also produce their art and be inspired by each other.
And what you did was you and the co-plaintiff were involved in setting up events to raise money to create this art collective. And the two of you worked together along with Mr. Lewis. You raised over $4,700 at these various events, something that Mr. Lewis does not deny. And you put it in the bank. And Mr. Lewis took the money and spent it. Mr. Lewis's defense is that it was always intended to be his money. That's your defense.
Essentially.
Well, Mr. Lewis, I want you to explain that to me, sir.
9 months ago, I was starting a venue to have
Starting a
venue space for concerts, art showings, and so forth. And over the course of about 9 months, I looked for a location to house that.
I thought you said 9 months ago you had a venue space.
No, 9 months ago we did not.
9 months ago, then you had nothing. You had an idea.
We had an idea.
Keep going.
And over those 9 months, I started a business called...
What was the business?
The business name was Is Village, and it was filed by the Secretary of the State of Oregon.
So now you had an idea that you gave a name to, and you filed a registration of the name. So far you have an idea and a name, and nothing else. Keep going.
I basically looked for individuals to help me create this venue space that was supposed to be owned by myself, and met with friends and other individuals, and they aided me in organizing different events.
Who aided you?
These two individuals and a rotating group of individuals that came in, came out.
Keep going.
We held events, generated money, and because the business belonged to me, it was put in my personal bank account and was my personal
Why was it
property.
put in your personal bank account?
Because the business was mine, I started the group, the money was essentially mine from the get-go.
No, that's not true. You're an embezzler. Absolutely. You brought a group of people together in order to create a dream that you inspired others to act upon. In order to do this Is Village. That's why they went to work for you, and that's why, according to you, the other people who you spoke to became involved in creating the events that brought in money, which would ultimately provide you with a venue. Now, what did you spend the money on, Mr. Lewis?
When I was no longer satisfied with the direction of the business that I started, I followed up on interests, business interests, friends of mine, a limousine.
So you spent the money on yourself?
I wouldn't say that, but...
Well, I would. They weren't investing in a limousine. That's not why they worked to create this, so that you could invest in a limousine? Outrageous. You're outrageous. I'm surprised you didn't notify the police. Did you?
We notified you instead.
Well, his conduct is outrageous, and you should have notified the police. He's an embezzler. And I wouldn't go into a business with you, Mr. Lewis. What you did is outrageous. The only problem is you're not entitled to this money. I mean, my problem is people supported you and gave money and contributed because they were looking forward to some place where they could show their wares. If I gave you this money and you used it on yourself, you're no better than he is.
Exactly. So we feel like we've learned from this situation, and we're going to get a new business and a new business name.
I want to see how much money you collected and how much you put in his bank. Do you have the records?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it, please. Ever been arrested, Mr. Lewis?
No, ma'am.
How old are you?
21?
Better go back to business school.
Definitely considering it.
I want to see where the money went in.
The deposits are highlighted and circled, and then we wrote next to it which benefits that money came from.
Oh, that's fine. As soon as you get me the bank records. Not these. The bank records. Do you understand? You mean you can't get them because they're in his name? I will sign an order for the bank to turn those over to you, unless he does. You prepared to turn those over?
More than happy to do it.
Fine. As soon as we get those, and you have a venue with a signed lease, the check will be made payable to that venue. Do you understand? That comports with the reason that not only you, but other people became involved in this vision. Is that reasonable?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Grow up, sir. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in jail. That's all.
Bonnie Stang is suing her ex-boyfriend, Thomas DeJana, for credit card charges in excess of $11,000.
Ms. Stang, it is your claim that Mr. DeJana owes you some money.
Yes.
Owes you some money because he used your credit card?
Yes.
You were given him permission to use your credit card with the understanding that he was going to take care of the bills from the credit card and use it only for emergencies. Mr. DeJana racked up thousands of dollars of expenses on the credit card, and you want that money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition, claim he owes you some money for rent because he rented a condo of yours. All of that is well in excess of this court's limit of $5,000. So we'll get into the rent only if we have to. Let's deal with the credit card. Okay? Mr. DeJana, I want you to pay careful attention, sir, because it's my understanding that it is your claim that you were told that this was a credit card for your use because you are a disabled person. She cared for you, and she was just being a nice person. There was never any expectation that you were going to pay this credit card back yourself.
That's my attestation, yes, ma'am.
Mr. DeJana, perhaps I can start with you, sir, if you don't mind. Where and when did you meet Miss Stang?
I met Miss Stang on an internet dating site.
So you were looking for a date?
I was looking for some companionship, yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
38.
Ever been married?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Once.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
How many?
One.
How old?
She's a 9-year-old daughter.
And in what state does she live?
New York.
And where do you live?
On San Diego.
You live very far away from your child.
Yes, I do.
How come?
During...
is not an answer.
Excuse me?
Is not an answer.
My apologies. I moved to San Diego because of the divorce situation. Was a little bit too much for me to deal with being so close to the situation. We were having some custody issues and things of that nature, so I thought that I would move to San Diego for a little while to give myself some room. I ended up loving it and staying.
How often do you see your daughter?
3 or 4 times a year.
Does she come to you or do you go to her?
She's still a bit young for that travel, so I go to New York.
When was the last time you were there?
Christmas.
You pay child support, Mr. DeJana?
Yes, I do.
How much?
$500 a month.
Are you in arrears of your child support order, and in what jurisdiction is your action pending?
It is in Nassau County, and those arrears, there's a petition for dissolution of the arrears going before the court.
So the answer is that you are in arrears?
Yes, I am.
How much in arrears are you, sir?
Not exactly sure, ma'am. Due to the fact that I have been paying cash to my ex-wife at times, the court settlement numbers were different than
Can I
what we
please
agreed
have
on.
what amount they are alleging you are in arrears?
I do
Just a
not
second.
know.
You tell me that you petitioned the court to have the arrears vacated.
That will be happening this summer.
Well, how much did you ask them to dissolve?
Your Honor, I have no idea because I have not spoken with an attorney about this yet. I plan on being back in New York this summer and taking care of these issues.
So you haven't started anything?
No.
He's cute. You know. Now, Mr. DeJana, when did Miss Stang give you a credit card?
Just before I went to New York for Christmas.
And what did you tell her when she gave you the credit card?
I told her, thank you very much for helping me out in this time of my need.
Why were you in need, sir?
I went on disability October 26th, and the California Disability
October
Insurance...
26th of 2006, you went on disability.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is the nature of your disability?
I had a torn-up shoulder.
From what?
Playing baseball.
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm an industrial electrician.
Okay. So you went on disability.
Yes, October 26th, my doctor signed the disability note. By the time I was leaving...
Were you playing baseball for your company?
No, I was not playing baseball for my company. I was playing baseball for my own recreation.
Now, I want you to tell me, Mr. DeJana, because something was very interesting to me. You couldn't work because of a torn shoulder?
I have no mobility above 180 degrees at that time.
Really?
Anything below here is just fine. I could lift things, I could do just about anything, as long as I didn't go above 180 degrees.
Aren't there other jobs that you could find, sir, that would permit you to work and not lift your arms up all the way up here?
I'm an industrial electrician, and that entails a lot of heavy lifting above my head, screwing in pipes,
No, listen
wires.
to what I said. Listen to what I said,
Ma'am,
Mr.
I'm a trained
Tajana.
electrician. That's what I do.
Listen to what I said to you, sir. When you have a 9-year-old child,
Yes.
you pick up cans. You don't have to lift anything above your head in order to pay your child
I
support.
understand that.
I'm glad you understand it. I just want you to understand that I know where we're coming from.
But also,
now, what were you doing skiing in Utah?
I wasn't skiing, ma'am. I drove my friends there in my truck, and along
You
with their gear
drove
in my
your
trailer.
friends in your truck
Yes, ma'am.
to Utah in February 2007. This is your sworn answer.
Yes.
I had a ski trip planned to Utah with friends. That's what you say, not what she says.
That's a correct statement, ma'am. I had a ski trip planned in February with my friends.
So?
The plan all along was for me to drive there with several of the individuals going on the trip and to haul all of the ski equipment and other snow equipment in my trailer so that people didn't have to deal with it.
Get
in
a
the
job driving a cab. If you can drive cross-country for a ski vacation, sir, and haul all their skis, get behind the wheel of a cab and drive a taxi, drive a limousine service.
That's not my choice
Drive-
of occupation.
Oh, well, I want to tell you
Unfortunately.
something. I want to tell you something.
I don't mean
You
to
want to
be
be,
disrespectful, Your Honor.
hey, I'm speaking. You're not. You want to be a bum on your own time, that's fine. You have a 9-year-old child. Forget her. You have a 9-year-old child. Iota of relief from your back child support. Not one. And I know the judges in New York City, sir. That's my hometown. And they're not going to do it either. They're not going to give you one break, especially after I send them this tape. Now, how much does he owe you on the credit card?
$11,000.
Can I see some of the purchases that he made, please?
Which happened over 6 weeks, most of which were cash withdrawals.
Listen, how old are you?
Too old for this, 44 years old.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, ma'am.
I could tell that he was a bum in 5 minutes. How does it take you 6 weeks to figure out that this guy hasn't been able to get his life straight?
I have faith in mankind, which has now been
No,
destroyed.
you cannot have faith in mankind. Your head wasn't ruling you.
Thank you. You're right, Your Honor. You're absolutely right. He played on my
I don't even see what his attraction is.
He doesn't
It'd be
have any.
different if he,
Your Honor, he...
looked like Tom Cruise. Jesus. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Get him out of here.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Mark Windhausen says ex-girlfriend Lana Speakman owes for the money he paid towards a Dodge Durango. Lana claims Mark was stealing from their share for his drug habit.
Mr. Windhausen, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time, and it is your claim that at the time she broke up with you and told you to leave, she kept your property. She kept the truck that you had been making payments on and some other personal property that you had purchased for the house.
Correct.
Ms. Speakman says everything is hers.
Yes.
When did you move in together?
About 6 of 04.
June of 04.
Right.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
How old are you?
34.
You have children?
No.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Windhausen?
I'm a welder.
How long have you been welding?
About a year and a half now.
Make good living?
Decent. It's fair.
Tell me what you make.
I'm about $14.50.
An hour?
An hour, yes.
How much did you make last year?
How much did I make last year? About $12,338.
You worked full-time?
Yes, I did work full-time. I got laid off in December of 05, and I was rehired back on, so I had
When?
it in February.
But other than that, you work continuously?
Correct.
And what did you do with your money?
What did I do with my money?
Why do you keep asking me a question? I know the question that I asked. What did you do with your money when you got your money, when you were living with Miss Speakman?
I cashed my checks at the U.S. Bank, and I went and paid it to, just gave her cash.
Well, how much cash did you give her?
Approximately about $340 per week.
It was different every week.
Tell me about this truck.
This truck, I needed a vehicle to get back and forth to work. I did not have one. I wasn't able to put one in my name because
Why?
my credit wasn't the greatest. And at the time, I was working on getting a work permit to make a commute back and forth to work.
What did your bad credit have to do with getting a work permit, Mr. Windhausen?
Because I wasn't able to put the truck in my name.
Did you have a driver's license?
I did not. I just had a work.
Well, that's an answer why you can't have a truck in your name, sir. So you were going to drive this truck despite the fact that you didn't have a license?
No, until I got my work permit.
Did you drive the truck without
I did,
a license?
yes.
So Ms. Speakman put the truck in her name and allowed you to drive it without a license?
Correct.
Jan, down, I get to you. And who made the payments on the truck?
I did.
How much were the payments every month?
Approximately about $340 a month.
$340 a month.
Plus
It's exactly the
insurance.
same amount that you gave her. You said a week. That's a number you must like. You told me you gave her $340 a week when you cashed your paycheck, and now you tell me
Well,
that,
that's
your truck
excluding-
payment was $340.
That was excluding making the payments on the refrigerator and the stove and the bedroom set.
How much was the truck payment?
About $340.
And how much did you used to give her every week from your paycheck?
Around $340, yes.
Ron. He's got it down, and he's not going to waver. And how did you make the truck payment?
Cash.
Now, because we're just dealing with the truck so far, when did you kick him out?
July 7th of '06.
Why?
Because I found out he was doing drugs. He actually, July 1st is actually when we broke up. He couldn't get a ride until July 7th. He stole $400 out of my purse, said he was going to the store to get ice, and didn't come back for like 12 hours because he was doing drugs.
What kind of drugs does he do?
Cocaine.
Have you ever seen him do cocaine?
No, I haven't. He told me.
What did he say?
A couple months prior, he took a lot of money. We had a joint checking account for a little while because I went to get money out and all the money was gone. Well, then I questioned him about it, and he finally told me that he was doing cocaine, that he had a drug problem, and then he didn't want to tell me what the drug was, and then he finally told me it was cocaine.
How much money did you take out of the joint account?
About $1,500.
Do you remember when?
It was March and April. He did it on 2 different occasions where he took hundreds of dollars out a couple times. I mean, hundreds, like $600 a night.
It's not true.
No?
No.
Don't do drugs.
No, I don't.
You willing to take a drug test?
I am willing, yes.
Willing to take a hair follicle test?
That's fine.
Right after court?
That's fine.
You understand that if you go for one of these tests, they will, and if it's positive, they won't let you be a welder. You understand that?
Correct.
You prepared to sign a release that the drug test results can be sent to your employer? Oh, is not an answer.
I have smoked weed, yes.
Weed
So-
we're not talking about, sir. We're talking cocaine.
All right.
Got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Perfect. If you have a problem and you're 24 years old, you better get rid of your problem. Do enough cocaine, so you're going to have a brain like mush. You know, when you start up here, you can have a brain like mush. When you start over here, it's over very, very soon. Now, how could you take money out of a bank account?
It's my money, too.
Well, if you're putting in $300 a week to run a household, you have rent, you have food, you have gas, you have electric, you have all the other stuff, and was he giving you an extra $340 for the truck payment?
No, he wasn't. He gave me, his checks were different every week. So he gave, sometimes it was only $100. Sometimes he didn't give me any money at all.
Yeah, because if he's making $15 an hour, earning $12,000 a year just doesn't,
Well, that was
doesn't make it.
The truck payment was $320, and it did come directly out of my bank account ever since I bought
Well,
the
it
truck.
may have come directly out of your bank account. That doesn't mean, quite frankly, Ms. Speakman, that he wasn't giving you money. My question is, was he giving you money earmarked for this car payment, or was he giving you a certain amount of money every week?
It was different amounts every week because, like I said, sometimes his checks were always different. Sometimes he would give me nothing. Sometimes he would give me $100. There was a couple times he probably gave me $300.
And what about the monthly truck payment?
What?
Did he give you money for the
Directly
monthly
for
truck
that.
payment?
No.
In cash is my question.
No.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious, how could she make the payment for a car payment, a truck payment, a house payment, and all the other utilities if I was not paying any money to that household?
She didn't say you weren't paying any money.
But how could she afford
I make
those
a lot
vehicles?
more money than he does.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Speakman?
I work at a factory.
And how much do you earn an hour?
$22 an hour.
And how much did you earn last year?
$50,000.
And you were earning $15 an hour, which is, you know, only a third less, and you only made $12,338, sir. That figure that you told me specifically, $12,338, which is what you said you earned last year, only 2 months you were out of work. Miss Speakman.
Yes.
What did you do with the truck?
I still have the truck. I'm still making payments on the truck.
What are you going to do with the truck?
I'm probably going to keep it.
Now, if Mr. Wendhausen is prepared to get a loan for $5,000 in his name, are you prepared to give him the truck?
No.
Sure. Sure you are. Listen to me, Mr. Wendhausen. You come back to me with a fully committed loan in your name for $5,000, and I will direct Miss Speakman to turn over the truck to you. Do you understand?
I do.
But she certainly doesn't want to give you a truck that's in her name, and she's certainly not going to give you the value of it or what you claim to put in, because you can't prove what you put in to the truck unless you have canceled checks.
No, I paid everything cash. Yes.
Right. So go get yourself a loan, and then Miss Speakman is going to turn over the truck to you. You think that's going to happen, Miss Speakman?
I don't think he'll be able to get a loan.
Correct. Correct. But if he can...
But what about I paid it, like for the whole year that he hasn't been there?
It was sort of a fluid situation. Right. But I certainly don't think that you ought to get stuck with this truck and turn it over to him. And I certainly don't believe that he, each and every month, paid you his portion of the expenses as well as the $340 for the truck, because he didn't make that much money.
Right.
Now, what other property do you claim, sir, is yours that she kept?
I have a GE arranged stove that I purchased.
When did you purchase that, sir?
I purchased it in about 11:05.
And you moved out in?
7/06.
And did you eat while you were there?
I did, yes.
And did you use the stove?
I only had it for about a month or two before I moved out.
Show me proof that you purchased it.
He just said we got the stove in November and he moved out in July. So
I got it.
Okay. Thank you.
I see it's purchased by you, Mark Wendhausen.
Right.
Show me how you paid for it.
I paid cash.
I have a check.
Can I see it, please?
These are the 2 payments I made. These are the 4 payments that were made total.
Okay. She's got proof of the payments, sir.
Proof of the payments that I paid?
Well, show me your payments. It doesn't say that this was paid in cash.
I paid those payments, ma'am.
To whom?
To Turner Electric.
Show me.
Cash. Don't you see there's cash? She writes checks. I pay cash.
What else, Mr. Wendhausen?
I also have receipts here for refrigerator.
When you moved into the house, Mr. Wendhausen, was there a refrigerator in the house?
Yes. Can you please tell me where all my money was going?
All your $12,000?
Well, I lived there for two and a half years.
All your $12,000?
His money was going up his nose. Mine
Just a second.
Mr.
Wendhausen, I don't think that you understand, sir. That barely supports a person. You don't get it.
I'm not getting it. I'm making payments that, you know.
Show me that you're still making payments.
I'm done. Those are the receipts. That's paid off.
And you paid for it, and you used the refrigerator, and you used the stove while you were in her house?
Yeah, it's my name.
Goodbye, Mr. Wendhausen.
Do you think I could take
I think you have a problem, and I think that you really have to take care of your problem. If you manage to secure a loan for the truck, I am going to direct Ms. Speakman to turn the truck over to you. We will recalendar this case as soon as the clerk receives indication that you've received a loan, and I will direct this truck that you want to be turned over to you. Do you understand?
Okay, I do, but...
Good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Kenny Loud says neighbors Keith and Tammy Cavanis owe for the return of 2 dirt bikes. The defendants are countersuing for harassment and defamation of character.
Miss Loud, you and the defendant were neighbors. You purchased 2 dirt bikes at some point, and then according to your complaint, you and your husband separated. You couldn't maintain the payments on the bikes, so you sold them to your neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
And they acknowledged that you did, in fact, sell them to them, and the price for the 2 bikes was, I believe, $1,800. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You made only $300 worth of payments, is that right?
Yes,
3
ma'am.
payments of $100 each.
Yes, ma'am.
And your last payment was in February?
Yes, ma'am.
She wants her money. Do you have a defense?
We attempted to make the payment, and she refused it.
Show me.
Here's the return. That's the receipt for the money, the certified letter, and that's where they refused it and sent it back. We called her.
March 23rd. When was your payment due?
On the 15th. We called her on March 15th. So she sent us a text on March 14th, and we had gone out of town and we had forgotten about it. So we called her and told her we were out of town and asked if it would be okay if we paid it on the 20th when we returned. And if not, my nephew had access to our funds, and he could bring it down to her right then because it's only a few houses down. And she said, no, it's okay, wait when you return on the 20th. And then she went on, started talking about other issues.
Go ahead. Okay, and when they were out of town, they did not call me. I called them on Sunday. And
Sunday, what day?
Sunday was March 15th, I believe. And they told me at that point that they were out of town and that their nephew could pay me the money. I had talked to their nephew during the week. He did not mention anything about the money, and neither did I, because in February...
Why didn't you pick this up? Did you get this certified
I wasn't
mail?
at home. I had somebody staying with me due to the threats that he had said to me when I went to collect the money March 20th.
Hold on. I don't understand this. This is addressed to you. This is addressed to you. This envelope and this name is addressed to you.
I'm sorry, if the receipt...
Don't show me the receipt. That you filled out.
I brought the wrong envelope.
That you filled out, madam. This is addressed to you.
I know. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I brought the wrong envelope.
Well, that's not my problem.
I know it. I messed up. But
it's very messed up. It's very messed
the
up.
thing is, she came to our house and she refused on the 20th when we returned, and she refused.
Oh, you have no defense for not paying up for the bikes. What's your defense?
The defense that she came to our house on the 20th. When we returned, we told her we were going to pay on the 20th. She was not home. She showed up at our home intoxicated, demanded the dirt bikes back. And we said, no, Kenny, you said that it would be okay when we returned on the 20th that we'd pay you. He was there. He was a witness and saw that she refused. I want to know today, as you stand here, what your defense is. Right now, you have the 2 dirt bikes. We had the cash to give to her.
Right now, you have the 2 dirt bikes.
The deal was that I lost a job, so we did not have to pay on the 15th. The deal was that we could pay.
The contract does say the 15th, but she said she'd work with us.
She would work with us.
I want to know, you're standing here today, what is your defense for not paying her for the merchandise that you have?
That she would not take the payment when we tried to
Well,
take
what
it
do you
to her.
think she's doing here? To check out my makeup?
She wanted the bikes. She wanted the bikes back.
She wanted the
Her
bikes back.
ex-husband returned, and he wanted the bikes back. She told us in
I
February
don't,
he wanted the bikes back.
I mean, thick. Are you people just thick?
We offered her the payment on the 15th.
What defense do you have today for keeping the bikes and not paying for them? The fact that you're annoyed?
We attempted. We had the money. We want to pay him. We want to pay her. We wanted to pay it.
Oh, so
and
you
she
want to
refused
finish?
it. Yes, we wanted to make every payment on time. We wanted to make the payments early.
Fine. Well, you didn't make your payment on time. All right. So right now they owe you $1,500 on the dirt bikes.
On the
now,
dirt bikes?
What?
On the dirt bikes, I want the return of the dirt bikes. I don't want the money. I want the dirt bikes because
That's not the deal. You're getting your $1,500 back. I don't care what you want. You made the deal. Now, you have some other repossession fees. I want you to show me where you paid a bill for repossessing the dirt bikes.
I have not paid anything yet.
Good. Then you don't get that.
I have an invoice.
Then you don't get it.
Even with the invoice saying, because I still have to pay it.
No, I don't want it. But I'm curious, when did you hire somebody to repossess the bikes?
I think it was around April 9th.
You have that on the invoice?
I don't know. I think the invoice is just dated the day that they sent it to me. June 1st is the date of it.
No, not interested. Take it, throw it in the garbage. They didn't get the property.
But I still have to pay the money.
That's your problem, if you're going to pay the money, and I don't think you are. So far, they owe you $1,500. Now, you want to get to the last part of your lawsuit, which is defamation of character.
Yes, ma'am. I was the assistant leader in a Girl Scout troop. She was the leader, and both of our daughters were in it. And on Friday, March 20th, is when I went over there to get the dirt bikes. And then Saturday is when she sent an email to all of the parents, to the girls in the Girl Scout troop, saying that I was no longer going to be the assistant leader.
Let me see.
I had not resigned.
Just want to see what she says in it.
I have mine also if you want to compare the two.
This is not defamation. She says, as some of you know, I am needing an assistant to help me with the troop. Kenny no longer will be the assistant, so I need help ASAP. She doesn't say anything else about you.
I was forced out of the group by her.
Who cares?
When I had sent.
I don't care.
I had talked to the.
That's not defamation. Show me something that indicates that she defamed you in some way, madam.
Okay, because of that email, I found out about that email, and I had called corporate Girl Scouts, and then they came in, and at that point she had said, well...
Don't tell me what she said.
She said it to...
They owe you $1,500. Now I'm going to entertain, in 30 seconds or less, your counterclaim.
She kept calling counsel over and over again. They were just
Don't
irritated.
tell me what they were just...
And she told them that
You can't tell me what she told them. That's hearsay.
I have the letter from the council.
I don't
she
care
told
if
them
you
that
have
I
a
stole
letter.
money.
Just a second. I don't care if you have a letter from counsel. I don't read letters from counsel. Letters from counsel are hearsay. You have anything that she wrote?
Oh, I have the letter that she sent to all the girls. Well, she sent it to counsel to send it to the girls, and saying that I told them stuff, which I didn't. And then the letter from counsel says that she had me investigated for stealing money.
I don't care. That's hearsay. Do you understand?
That she had me investigated for stealing money?
That's hearsay. This is not defamation. She's saying that I understand that Tammy Cavan has communicated with you by email or in person about a week and a half ago that I had quit the troop. That's not what she said at all in her email to the troop that you gave me. She just said I will be needing a new assistant and Kerry will no longer be. She didn't say you quit. Show me where it says you quit.
I have the resignation letter.
I don't have it.
I didn't ask you anything.
Okay. Do you still have that email?
You have that?
You still have it? Kenny will no longer be the assistant
That's what
leader.
it says. She will no longer be. She doesn't say you quit. And it's all a matter of semantics anyway. It's nonsense, ladies. You owe her $1,500 for the dirt bikes that you have. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
19-year-old Chris Alford is suing his ex-girlfriend, 19-year-old Ashley Griffin, for a loan to pay her rent. Ashley says Chris gave her the money.
Mr. Alford, the defendant used to be your girlfriend. According to your complaint, you are no longer involved in a relationship, but at some point prior to your breaking up, you loaned her $300. You want that money back.
Yes. This was after we broke up. Like, we broke up, then she called me.
So you lent her the money after you were no longer together?
Yes.
When did you lend her the money, sir?
I sent it the 1st of July.
Tell me about that.
All right, we broke up with her when she came up.
She came up where?
To Philly. We was no longer seeing each other.
You live in Philadelphia?
Yes.
You live where?
Florida.
And when did she come to Philadelphia?
Like the beginning of June.
Who did she stay with?
Her mom, I guess.
Your mom lives in Philadelphia?
Outside of Philadelphia.
Stop moving up and down. When she came up to Philadelphia to visit her mother, and you, I assume.
I saw her a couple hours.
That's not
true, Were you still dating?
Then, yeah.
What caused you to stop seeing each other in a romantic way?
Chris Alford says ex-girlfriend Ashley Griffin owes for a loan to pay her rent. Chris also says Ashley is a two-timer.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, she missed her flight, right? In the morning time, she missed her flight.
She missed her flight going back to Florida?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't know the exact date.
It was sometime in July.
He said you went up in June.
No, it was like the middle of July sometime.
Did you miss your flight going home?
Yes, ma'am.
When you were in Philadelphia?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What happened when she missed her flight, sir?
She missed her flight, and she called some guy and was like, I missed my flight. It cost $50 or something to pay the balance or something. And I was like, who's that on the phone? And I turned around, whatever, because I was half asleep when all this happened. She hit me, whatever, like, oh, I missed my flight.
So what you're saying is she was sleeping over at your house?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, then you were with her more than just a couple of hours during this visit to Philadelphia.
Okay.
All right, so you decided you didn't want to see her anymore because she was talking to somebody else and borrowed $50 from somebody else. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Mr. Alford? Could we get to it, please?
All right.
Is that what happened?
Other stuff, too, but that's what started it all.
And then this other young man sent you money or called up and said, add the ticket on his credit card, and you went home.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me why you needed this $300, Miss Griffin.
Can I start from the beginning?
No.
Well, because I was going back home in July. So I had already bought my ticket, and I was short for my rent. So I asked him for the money. I didn't say, can I borrow it? I asked him, can I have it? And he said, yeah. And he gave me the money.
So you needed the $300 for rent because you'd spent the money.
But I was off, and we spent more than just that night together. He picked me up from the airport, and I was with him that day, and we went to go pick up his witness.
Tell me about when you called him and asked him for the money.
Well, I called him, and I pretty much said I needed the money for the rent because I was short.
Where were you when he gave you the money?
I was at my house.
In Florida?
Yes, ma'am. He Western Unioned me the money.
You have the receipt for Western Union?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Alford, I'd like you to tell me about the conversation that you had with her about the $300, please.
All right, I'm in the car, me and 3 friends of mine, and my phone rings. And I put it on speaker because I couldn't drive and talk. So I'm talking to her, and she's like, oh my God, I don't have enough money to pay for my rent, this, and that. And I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, like, what am I supposed to do about that? Then she said, would it be possible if you could send me $300 and I will pay you back next Friday on my paycheck? Everybody in the car heard her say that.
Don't say what they heard. Did you hear it?
I heard it clearly. It's right here. The phone's right here. I was listening, talking like, all right, well, I can't spare it. I mean, so you got to send it back next Friday. And you can see on that on Western Union, date was July 1st. If she just now said she was in Philly.
You're absolutely right, sir. It was July 1st.
I said he sent me the money July 1st. I said I went home after July 1st.
Are you telling me you went home and then continued your relationship with him after he sent you the money?
Yes, we were still together, so I don't know why he's saying we weren't. We were together at that time. Why would I stay at his house? Why would he pick me up from the airport if we weren't together?
He says it was in June.
It was in June. That's why you was at my house. It was in June, man.
Well, you must have your airline ticket.
I don't have it.
Who was this other person that you called for $50?
All right, when he came down, he knew about the guy already.
Don't tell me what he knew. I didn't ask you for a whole story. I said, who was this other person?
It was some other guy that I was messing with.
So now what you want me to believe is he sent you $300 to help you cover your rent. Then you went up to Philadelphia to see him. But at the time that he sent you the $300 for the rent, you were messing around with somebody else that he didn't know about. Is that right?
No, he knew about him. We were only like
friends.
No, we weren't friends. We were more than friends. But at that time, I knew I could depend on him.
You have to learn that you have to stand on your own 2 feet. You have to stop relying on people, and you have to stop using people. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $300. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Roberta Schumann is suing her ex-boyfriend, Scott Beer, for a loan to buy a Harley-Davidson. Scott says Roberta stopped paying rent, so he owes her nothing.
Ms. Schumann, Mr. Beer and you were in a relationship for a period of time. You also lived with him for a period of time in his home. You claim that you made a loan to him so that he... Now, Mr. Beer acknowledges that you made this loan to him.
Correct.
He says that subsequently you moved in with him and you agreed to pay rent, which you didn't pay.
Correct.
And you made a new arrangement whereby he would pay your portion of the rent that you had agreed to pay and deduct that from the loan. And by the time he told you to leave, you had done several things. First, you stole a money jar from him, which you acknowledged that you did because you were annoyed. And then there were some other small items that ate into this loan. But you claim that there was never an agreement with regard to the rent in exchange for the loan.
That is correct.
Okay. On what date did you make the loan?
Well, there was two. There was 2 dates. One was 11.
One right after the other. I know. Give me the 2 dates.
Like April of 2007.
And when did you move in with Mr. Beer?
May 15th.
Right afterwards?
Yes.
Where had you been living?
I lived in my own townhouse in Blaine.
What did you do with your townhouse?
I sold it. I found out 3 days before I was moving in with Mr. Beer that he was sleeping with my best friend.
I don't care about that. You want to discuss that, go someplace else. That has nothing to do with me. You sold your townhouse, you moved in with him. What was the rent agreement?
$300 per person is what he charged his other tenants when they lived there before. It was a couple. He charged them $600.
And how much were you supposed to pay in rent?
He assumed $600.
No. What did you discuss?
It was $600 when my son was supposed to come and live with us. My son never came and lived with us. I never even had a key to the door.
I don't care whether you had a key to the door. You slept there, correct?
Correct.
And there was an agreement to pay rent. All I'm trying to do is figure out how much. How much, sir?
$600 for the basement.
Is that where she was living?
Yep.
She wasn't staying with you?
Most of the time.
What does that mean?
Off and on, she'd stay up in my place. But, I mean, it was running the house, too.
Where were her clothes?
In the basement.
Is it a legal apartment in the basement?
Yeah, it's a regular house.
And you had a couple there living before?
Yes.
And how much was the rent before?
$600.
Okay.
Your Honor.
What?
There was also an extra bedroom downstairs in the basement that was never used while I lived there.
I don't care. I mean, I didn't get a legitimate answer from you, so I asked him. Okay. So you moved in May 13th, is that correct?
Yes.
How much was the loan for the motorcycle?
$3,100.
Okay, now you stole $100 from him in coins, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so now he owes you $3,000. You moved in on May 13th. When did you pay rent for the first time?
The actual, when I gave him the lump sum, I gave him $1,700 in July, and then 3 days after that, I gave him $600 for the rent that he claims...
Just a second. You gave him $3,000, according to you, for the motorcycle. I have deducted the $100 that you stole from him.
Mm-hmm.
You moved in May 13th. When did you pay rent for the first time? What month?
It would have been June, but my account closed.
So did you or did you not pay rent for June?
I did in July.
How many months did you live there?
Half of May, June, July. I moved out August.
When you moved out, did you take all your property?
No, I did not.
What property did you leave there?
My kitchen table, everything furnished his house. If I would have known...
Listen to me. Downstairs, in the basement, what items of furniture did you leave there?
A bed, a couch, and a TV.
Under what circumstances did you leave that stuff?
Because he threw me out. I had no key to the house. He threw me out. The end of August, I packed my bag. I stayed with a friend in Minneapolis.
Until when?
Until November 12th was when I moved out. I had surgery on my leg, November 10th.
Okay. Did you subsequently rent the basement to your townhouse?
I didn't rent my basement until January, I think. The first time I had somebody come in.
And when did you move out, Miss Beer? August what?
August 24th is when he bought the house.
So you owe him for 3.5 months' rent.
But he told me that my stuff was there in storage. If I wanted to, I could have put it in a storage, which was $85 a month.
I don't care if it was 80. I said you owe him so far 3.5 months' rent for the time you were living there. Half of May, June, July, and August. That's 3.5 months that you didn't pay. Or
Yes,
did you pay?
Yes, I did, in July.
Did you pay him in July?
Yes, I did.
Did the check clear?
It was money orders that I had because he would only accept cash, which I agreed with that.
Well, because you gave him a bad check once.
It was a closed account.
Well, a closed account is a bad check. Did she subsequently pay you?
I have never seen that.
You've never
money?
seen the cash?
No, I
Okay,
did not.
so show me. Don't talk
Oh,
to
my
him.
God.
Talk to me. Show me what you claim you paid him for July.
July 24th, I paid him $1,700 cash because he said that these checks, which he had reserved
Show me.
money, I had cash. He wouldn't take anything but cash. And then